Hello. Welcome. It's Monday. Yay. Hi, hello, welcome. We're here, we're streaming. It's another day, another stream in fascist America. Welcome to whatever this is, an attempt at providing education, advocacy, and a little common sense in this digital wasteland. I'm Aubri Devashrayee. Welcome and namaste to the people who are here interested in creating a better world, where we engage in robust discussion, share important information, education, resources, have good faith criticism, call out bullshit. It does not mean that we are doormats, but we attempt to see the humanity in one another. And for everyone who comes into this space, may you receive what you give. All right. It's Monday, the weekend's over. If in fact you had a weekend. Whenever I wear a baseball cap, I get paranoid that I look conservative. Is that a weird thing to be wondering? Perhaps. But my queer self, I don't know if that looks conservative to people, so I don't know. I don't know. I still wear baseball caps anyway. Okay, it's Monday, so you know what that means. We are going over headlines. We talk about the news. We usually get this from Amy Goodman of Democracy Now! She shares some words of wisdom, some information on the happenings of the bullshit happening in the world at large. I'm trying to drag this over my screen and it's really struggling. This is where my technological shortcomings really are on display. Is it because I'm in widescreen? Full screen? Oh no. Okay. I do have an announcement. Oh, maybe I should have also had this pulled up before. Whoops. Okay. Getting this going. Okay, finally, I'm ready. I probably should have done that beforehand, but whatever. I do have an announcement. Oh, also, we are joined by Miss Tiny, Juniper, Junebug, Buggy. She's supervising. I was doing some cleaning earlier in this hallway that's outside, and she was sitting on this chair observing, always on quality control. You know, that's supervision I can get behind. I think she's mad that I took this chair, but I did fluff up the blanket and put it in a new position, and she seems to like that. She's ignoring me. Okay, I do have an announcement. There is a recent addition to the Patreon. Jesus Christ, this link has so many codes. Please hold while I erase these. All of these UTM codes. Just so all of you know, you should erase everything that comes after the question marks with links, because that is tracking information. Especially having worked in social media and been part of that, this is where you can tell people are sharing things, like to what types of platforms a lot of the time. Um, so just to keep digital spaces as secure as possible, erase everything that comes after the question mark, and you can also include the question mark in deleting it. Either way, the link will work if the question mark is there, but there you go. This is a post that I put up recently because I designed some planner pages and I'm continuing to work on them. This is something that I have done in the past and I got out of the habit of doing it. I think I also, that was some self sabotaging behavior of mine, but they really do help me. I printed them out, I designed them and printed them out for myself and wanted to adjust some things before I continued designing them and offering them to the public. So this is part of the $3.33 tier because when we're talking about organizing, the need to have practical steps towards our collective liberation, it is helpful to actually have some means to do so with helping to organize. This is not me claiming to be the solution or that this will be beneficial to anyone besides myself. I'm probably overselling it. Anyway, this helps me in my daily life, keeping things organized, helping with moving the needle, hopefully. So this is, I'll give a brief overview. I went too fast. The cover page. I have the September pages done that I'll be releasing this week, and then I'll do the October pages, release them the next week. So you can be part of that tier to get them regularly. You also can purchase the posts. So there you go. I have cat hair on my face. Cat hairs, I think. Ugh. Okay. Teeny, help. She doesn't care. Okay. I like to have goals set for the week. This is like an overview of the month. I mean, people can use this however they want. Monthly chores. I often get stressed with chores and feeling like I need to do all of them in like one day. And then am very hard on myself when I don't do it all in one day. And that's not practical. So this helps me to just like have a more realistic perspective to be like, okay, how many times a month do I want to change sheets and vacuum, clean litter boxes, wash towels, wash clothes? And then I also have like all of these things, these chores that I regularly do, and then some extra boxes to draw a cute little picture and also include like additional things that need to get done so that you can have more freedom there if you want. Budgeting page, just writing out the details there. This is what like the first page is because I divide it up by like the to-dos and stuff by week. So this helps me once I have all of this like written down of the chores and stuff. I often put them in like upkeep categories and personal. These are top 3 to-dos for these various categories, but also the personal helps with like, self-care. So, I mean, you can use these however you want, if you want to use them at all. And then have a weekly goal. So to help accomplish the goals that are listed at the beginning of the month. And this is what the days look like. Have like a mini month. Oh no, I need to update this. I'll do that right after this stream. Because this says November. I pulled it from the November pages. These other ones say August. Oh. Of course. Of course, this is happening as I'm presenting. That's okay. This happens. So it is on military time and has little sections for each part of the day. Did I accomplish the goal for the day? So there's a weekly goal at the top, daily goal, and then things that I need to do tomorrow, or like the main thing that I'm wanting to get done tomorrow, just to make it more manageable. Then just checking off the day I did today to be like, wow, I survived. This is great. Today I learned, because this helps me focus on things that I'm excited about, curious about, hopefully grateful for, something I'm trying to develop more. Then, because I printed out a previous set, and I ran into the issue of these to-do lists being on a page where I didn't want to have to like cut up the pages and like tear it out. So it has a buffer of a page before, a page after, a blank page, and then to-do lists you can cut out. So there you go. And then there are the rest of the pages. I will adjust that right after this, re-upload it. So maybe I'll delete this post. But you can look at the Patreon, and figure out if you even give a shit, if you want to download these. It helps me, so I figured I would make it available to others. Anyway, okay, shall we start with our humorous video for today? This is one that was recommended to me, Emergency with Tim Heidecker. Tim Goes to the Afterlife. This is combined InfoWars and Tim Heidecker, their collaboration happening here. So let's see what this has in store for us, then we'll get into the headlines. Well, also, after, I guess I could announce what else we're talking about. We're going to be talking about childlessness, people choosing to be child-free. This is often out of necessity or, existing in the world as it is. We'll get into that. Bring this around to who historically is often viewed as witches, have been viewed as witches, and then tie that into feminist readings of Shakespeare, but specifically Macbeth. Okay, let's do this.
On our road to total victory, that is not stopping us to seek restitution and justice. In every battle, there comes a time when both sides consider themselves beat, then he who continues the attack wins. Come on board! Hi, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Emergency. I'm your host, Tim Heidecker. We got a lot to get to tonight, a lot of breaking news, but first I want to start with an apology regarding my behavior last week. I acted in a manner that was inappropriate and
Have I seen
shameful.
The one that was before
shameful
this?
Behavior. I'll speak to the events leading up to last week, last Thursday night. Wednesday evening, I received a summons regarding my divorce proceedings, which set me off on a tailspin. I was full of rage. I went and sat with Mr. Jack Daniels for far too long, passed out. I don't remember much more about this, but I'll tell you what happened the next morning. I woke up and I believed in a state of some kind of psychosis, perhaps a lucid dream that continued into my consciousness. Woke up believing that a horse's head had been placed under my satin sheets. I do have satin sheets. I believe that there were the horse blood running all up and down my thigh, and that my horse that I am in the process of losing in divorce was his head was beheaded and placed under my sheets. A very similar scenario that had happened in The Godfather when Tom Hagen ordered the studio mogul Jack Waltz's horse, Arabian horse, prize horse, to have the head cut off to send a message that if Jack Waltz didn't cast Don Corleone's godson in the part, which is a very similar story based on Frank Sinatra. Imagine the kid's Frank Sinatra. He's an avatar for Frank Sinatra. And the guy, anyhow, that was ringing through my head for some reason. I don't know why. Anyhow, I woke up in a psychotic state, partially fueled by Jack Daniels, where I believed that my wife, Chesapeake had cut off my horse's head. You understand? And
No, we don't understand.
Proceeded to drink more alcohol.
In fact, no.
Carelessly drove down to the studio and began to broadcast. Now, I cannot explain why I was covered in blood. We're still looking into that. We cannot find the source. In other words, we can't find the wound where blood would come from. Anyhow, there's a theory that I might have
You could be on your
nicked
period.
myself shaving my pubic region. I do
That would
try to
explain
keep
a lot of the
clean down there.
transphobia.
Manscaped, whatever, and I might have
The
quickly
internalizing
shaved,
of it.
cut my dick or my in between where my ass and balls meet, and then put on my jeans, and then was fixing my my testicles and my jeans, whatever, and got that on my hands. That's one explanation. There's no blood. There's some blood in the car, so that could be it. I did show up here intoxicated. I apologize to retired Sheriff Dominic Banner, who's a friend. I apologize to him privately. Now, as I reflected on how I took the wrong path, I realized that I lost sight of my mission. My focus has been taken away from my prime objective, which is for Alex Jones to suffer no matter if he's dead or alive. When Cindy Joe was sitting here a couple weeks ago and told me that Alex is down in hell, but he's having a gay old time, and he might be playing electric guitar with Jimi Hendrix, playing drums with John Bonham, Keith Moon, 2 drummers down there, the super group of all super groups. And he's down there partying with them, doing tequila shots, hanging out with Lonnie Anderson, Burt Reynolds. Now that's not suffering. That's not how a man should suffer for
Don't bring
for
Jimi
eternity for what
Hendrix
he
into
does.
this.
Now I come to realize that the only thing I must do is follow this path down to hell, so I can continue to wage my war on Alex Jones. I got no beef with anybody else down there. I'm gonna leave them be. I'm gonna go laser focused on Jones.
So they're like actually acknowledging that he's Tim Heidecker and not Alex Jones. Because like with the impression, like I don't know if that was made like super clear.
And we got a process by which we're gonna attempt that and try to do that. And we're gonna get to that right now. We'll be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. In the studio with me once again is Cindy Jo Hinkleman, a demonologist, a spiritual expert, and somebody I've gotten to know
Wow,
quite
this
well.
is going to be related to Macbeth
and
and
we've
King
had a
James
good
more than
time.
I was expecting.
And I'm sad to say this is the last time I'll be
having any
spending any time with you
expectations
because
for
I'm
that.
on a different journey, as you know. I think the reason I have you here to guarantee that I make my journey safely down below. You've prepared a questionnaire that will guarantee me that I ain't going anywhere else. Once I go, which I'm going to be doing later on in the show, ladies and gentlemen, you'll see it here live, that there's no chance I'm going up. I'm going down because I need to go down to see Alex.
We'll make sure that you go down.
All right.
And I printed this out to make sure that we get this absolutely right.
All right, and this is guaranteed.
This is guaranteed. I've done this
Anybody
before.
can do this. We'll provide this on the link to guarantee you if you want to descend into hell after you pass. All you got to do is fill out this form or answer these questions. I'm going to answer these questions honestly, and why don't you proceed?
Okay, with a witness. You have to do it with a witness. Okay. What is your name?
My name is Tim Heidecker.
And where were you born?
I was born in Pennsylvania.
Have you committed mortal sins?
Yes, I have.
Do you repent of those mortal sins?
I do not.
Have you committed blasphemy against heaven?
I have.
Do you repent of
Regularly.
that blasphemy?
I do not.
Do you
Same.
reject God?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you accept Satan?
Yes.
Do you say all of this of your own accord, freely and without coercion?
Yes.
Bearing witness to these words, I
To
commend
the
your
camera.
soul on its final journey hence to eternal damnation.
Well, thank you very much, Cindy Jo. And if you don't mind, It's been a pleasure.
It
All
has
right.
been.
If you don't
And
mind.
maybe I'll come back and
I
haunt
think you need
I
to
don't know,
ask
the
that
demon or
before you
some shit
start
like
doing
that.
it,
We
sir.
don't know. We don't know what I'll do.
I think I'd enjoy that.
I think you'll know. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. When we come back, I'm going to
Whatever
make the
that
final
means.
step in transcending down to the fire pits of hell. I guess they're not fiery pits.
They're not.
No, it sounds like Shangri-La. So perhaps maybe after I vanquish him once for all, I'll have a little bit of fun, get to play drums with Keith Moon. All right, now get on out of here. I want you to see me pass.
Okay.
No.
Retired Sheriff and
No.
author Dominic Banner here. You know, when it's
He
your
is
time
going
to
to
go,
hell.
do it on your own terms. Swift D is the only accelerated mortality supplement made with 99% pure methylene brown. 10 milliliters of Swift D will keep
Don't
your
we all
bowel
need some
movements
Swift
regular
D
for 24 hours.
in our lives?
Then when you're ready to depart for good, take exactly 20 milliliters of Swift D and let the holistic formula take effect. Fortified with ashwagandha and St. John's wort for supreme comfort during
They're
your
trying to
last
make it sound
moments,
like
Swift
Swifty,
D
like
is
Swifties.
guaranteed to go down just as smoothly as you do. Try it today, but not before you check out my novel Fire Crisis.
Or
the story
Swift
of former
Death.
small-town sheriff Christopher Doyle
Duh.
and his relentless pursuit of justice against all odds. Now available in paperback at firecrisisthebook.com.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. I have sealed my fate. I am going to take the next step here, thanks to the beautiful product, Swift D.
I will reiterate that background is both so underwhelming and boring and overstimulating at the same time.
Acting formula here. If you double your dose, which I'll be doing, well, that
It's a
ends it.
Swift
So be careful here.
D
And we're gonna get this
E A
done.
T
Now,
H.
from what I understand, it's going to take about 5 or 6 minutes to knock me down. Now it's got to be just right, because if you get more, you're gonna revert back to just bad explosive diarrhea. So I got to be around. If I get a little more
From death, if you
all
have
right,
too
well,
much, then
ladies
you
and
get
gentlemen, it has been an
undead.
honor to speak with you on this show, and I thank you all for tuning in. Keep watching InfoWars. This movement is just beginning, and it's going to continue with so many other talented people who are going to sit in this chair and beyond. The sky's the limit for what we're going to be able to do with InfoWars. I should be just writing this because I got another 5
It
minutes
is your
to kill.
limit, because if you weren't going there.
All right. Yeah, it tastes
limit
like
does
it's
exist.
basically methylene brown. It's got a little St. John's wort ashwagandha in it, which is supposed to chill me out a little bit, so I'm not fearing the Grim Reaper. And
I hope a Grim Reaper shows up.
all right, well, let's see. Let's start the clock here. Well, 5 minutes, 6 minutes. Tidy up my desk.
I started that over
let's
the
go to the
weekend.
calls.
I
I'm
need
sure
to
there's plenty of people
continue
out there
that.
want to say goodbye.
Hello, Tim.
Yeah, who's this?
Hey, this is Phil calling.
How you
Phil
doing, Phil? Where you
Collins.
calling from?
Calling from McLean, Virginia.
All right, what's your question? What do you want to say?
Well, I guess I'm just kind of happy to be able to get on the show. It seems like this might be one of the final times, but just to say, if you're prepared for this journey that you're about to embark.
Yes, I filled out. If you weren't watching, I filled out the. I went through the whole thing, rejecting God and everything like that. So I'm ready,
Yeah.
ready to move on.
Have you prepared a will or anything like that?
He wants to be in it.
No, yeah, you know
Anything-
what? I did not. Let me hold on. Let me just. That's good. Thank you,
You know-
Phil. I should have done that. Give me a pen. Somebody throw me a pen. I want to make a list.
Probably pretty important because you don't want to leave some of your assets there in legal limbo,
Final will.
of course. And I don't know what kind of stuff you have. It'd be pretty cool.
This angle.
Yeah, I'm not to try to write your will,
Right.
of course. I mean, this is your will, but you know, some like the InfoWars fans could.
I don't
That
care.
horse.
Like
The
once I'm
stomach
gone, I'm gone. I
sounds.
don't give a shit who has it. So, what's your name?
My name is Phil.
Phil. What's your last name, Phil?
You need my last name? It's Braun.
Brawn.
No, Braun.
I'm just gonna pull. You're in charge of everything. I'll give everything to Phil Braun.
Okay. Well, that's awesome. I mean, although
Caller named
it's too bad that
executor.
horse is no longer because.
No, the horse is
thinking that-
alive.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Well, that's good news because I mean,
Photo
I can
evidence.
do a lot with that horse. Probably generate some capital with taking him around to birthday parties and.
But you do whatever you want. Just treat that horse good. All right. That horse, it means so much to
Only
me.
plans to
If-
monetize
if
horse
I found out you've
inheritance.
been treating that horse poorly, I don't want you turning that horse into one of them carriage driving horses in Central Park. That's
Oh,
one
no.
day he just passes out, or you ain't gonna be turning my horse
Yeah,
into
they
glue.
aren't treated well.
I'll build one of those circle things out in my backyard that he can kind of run around in circles back there, and I'll take him like
Hang
to
on a sec.
churches.
Hang on a sec, Phil. I've got.
Like how that as he was like talking about what he will do and he looked happy about it, this like burst of light comes in at the
Yeah, this diarrhea. It wants to come out.
Yeah.
Hang on now.
yeah.
Sheesh.
I can get the horse like a milk jug full
Uh-huh.
of pennies because they kind of like those things.
Lose my belt.
Kick it around.
Oh.
All right, Phil. I
As a
signed this
toy.
here. Phil Braun gets all my shit. You gotta deal with it too.
Do you have a spare key or something that you could get to
Yeah,
me
well,
for like
Jason,
the
get
studio?
him all the info on my keys and everything. All right, thanks, Phil. Good luck
Okay.
with the horse.
Yeah,
And-
thanks.
Anybody else there on the line?
Oh, hey.
Yeah.
What do you want?
You are something else.
That's
I'll
his
tell you
accent.
that much. You are something fucking else.
I can't deal with this right now, Chesapeake. I'm in incredible abdominal
Chesapeake.
pain, and I am
Oh, yeah,
minutes
'cause
away
your
from
diarrhea is
expiring.
going to come out. Oh, my God. Your diarrhea is going to come out.
Please,
I've
woman, leave me
seen this.
alone. Let me go to hell and be in some peace.
I'm glad you're finally going. That's so clearly where you were born and where you've been from your whole life. So go back from whence you came.
Hey, listen,
You-
you whore, you witch. Oh, you got something nice to
Which
say to
is
me. I treat you so well for
much
so
more
long.
fitting for
Won't you
today
see,
than
please
I
guide me
had
peacefully into
planned.
Another world.
Okay, let me say this to you. Thank you for giving me the horse that you will never see again.
Damn you, bitch.
That I'm gonna ride right past you
No, you
as
won't.
as you shit yourself to death.
No. No, you
I
won't.
hope
I
the
gave that
devil
damn
shoves
horse to
his-
Phil Braun.
Well, that horse is mine, and Phil Braun will never pet it in his life. And I hope the devil shoves his pitchfork up the hole of your dick.
I love you. I love you. I always loved you. Just
What?
please don't say this. Please don't treat me
You
this way.
love me?
I love you. I love you. I always loved you. I won't get back together with you before I go. Please, I ask you again. Would you marry me, love? Would you marry me one more time? Please.
I can't get over my soft spot for you.
I'm so
I
sorry,
hate
love.
you for this, but I love you.
I love you.
I love you, Tim. I hate you for making me say this.
I
but
know
I
I've
do.
done so
Love you.
many
I never
bad things
stop.
to you, girl. I want you back. Say you love me.
I love you. I want you back too. I
Oh.
hate you for making me do this. I love you.
Why are we so hurtful? Why are we so mean?
I don't know.
Oh,
I
the
don't know.
headline, they
We lost
reconcile.
sight of what's right.
I want Phil to have the horse. Would you make it happen, baby?
Oh, how about if I just take it over to him sometimes so he can pet it?
That's fine.
I
That's
don't mind
fine.
her coming to see the horse every weekend or something like
He's
that.
still on the line.
I want to hear from you.
Shared custody.
There's so
I'll
many
do- I'll-
regrets.
I'll do whatever you want.
I wish you were here right now. I wish you were
I
here
wish
right
I
now.
was
hold
too.
me.
I'd hold your hand and let
I'm
me tell
going
you
quick.
something. I'd give you a hug and a kiss. I really would.
Oh, give me a hug over the line. Give me a kiss in my ear. Go ahead, get a kiss on the speakerphone. Give me a kiss. Oh. Let me hear you kiss. Oh, I don't shit my pants. Here I go. Oh.
Oh, Tim. Did you die? Tim, did you die? Oh my gosh,
He has
he's
to
with the devil now,
unbutton his
everybody.
pants.
Good luck, Tim, if you can hear me as you float down underneath the dirt of the earth. Good luck to you. The devil is strong. Don't forget that. Take my love with you down underneath the dirt of hell.
Hey, Chesapeake, this is Phil. I'm still on the line here.
Hey, Phil.
I don't know if you heard any of that, but look, I'm okay if you want to visit the horse, but I want to, kind of have like reasonable guidelines as to when you can come see him.
Well, every day then.
Well, not every day. I mean, like maybe every once a month. That's what I was kind of thinking.
Once a month.
Because there's stuff that I have to do, and I'm going to be taking care of the horse and paying for its hay and its milk that it drinks and every day, and running it around the
Every
ring.
day.
And I got to make money with it, so I got to take them out and generate some income. It would make my life easier if I'm not having to worry about your schedule and so forth.
It is what it is, I guess.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Okay, well, I gotta go. I got shit to do.
Horace. Now we get a name for the
Tim,
horse.
are you there?
The Horace.
Hello? I had something I also want to run by you if you knew of any good metal detectors. Like for gold, have you ever thought about like the buckles, the shoe buckles from pilgrims? And like how many of those might be scattered around the country that have like fallen off and deteriorated or just gotten thrown
Fuck
away?
pilgrims.
Hello?
Not to mention the buckles on their hats.
Well, anyway, okay, I guess I don't know if I'll talk to you later. I guess if I can get those that will notarized and sent over to me somehow, that would be appreciated. So,
Is she even on the line?
see everybody. Bye-bye.
Well, that's the end. You're gonna see him in a band? Well, there's that. Okay. Guess there's that. Shall we get to the news, the headlines, what Mondays are all about, I guess? All right. Let's see what Nermeen Sheikh has to say. Damn. Again, I click on this knowing full well it'll break my heart. Yep. Exactly.
Rejected President Trump's 15-point Gaza peace plan in a public... Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu rejected President Trump's 15-point Gaza peace plan in a public split with the U.S. leader. The proposal requires Hamas to disarm fully before Israel withdraws and Palestinians gain independence, but Netanyahu demanded complete disarmament up front before any phased implementation begins. Here's Netanyahu on Sunday.
As long as I am Prime Minister, a Palestinian...
Despite it being legal under international law for them to be armed and defend themselves.
...state will not be established. Not in Gaza and not in Judea and Samaria. Not a Fatahstan, not a Hamastan.
Palestinians in Gaza responded to Netanyahu's rejection of Trump's 15-point peace plan.
Wildly racist, but what can you expect?
We wish for the war to end and to live in peace. As they say, Prime Minister Netanyahu agrees with peace and all this stuff. All of this is a lie. Netanyahu's response was expected. We are used to this issue that he always rejects. He doesn't care about peace. He doesn't care about the people. He doesn't care about anything. The most important thing is that he wins elections.
A New York Times investigation into how the participants of the Global Samud flotilla were treated in Israeli detention details beatings, electric shocks, and other abuse. 6 activists produced medical records documenting serious harm: fractured ribs, broken vertebrae, a shattered tailbone, a gunshot wound, and a collapsed lung. 4 said Israeli forces shot them with rubber bullets or beanbag rounds while they were detained on a ship. 3 reported being shocked with tasers while beaten inside shipping containers. Back in May, Israel apprehended more than 400
and people who are not Palestinians. So, as we all know, most of the world knows that Palestinians are treated much worse.
activists on the Global Samud flotilla at gunpoint on the Mediterranean as they attempted to break the Israeli blockade on Gaza. Iran says it's close to a final pact with Oman to define new shipping lanes through the Strait of Hormuz. But Tehran insists the U.S. must act first by paying compensation, lifting sanctions, and halting military threats.
Free Palestine, free Sudan, free the Congo, free all oppressed people from imperialism, this colonial violence that is continuing. It just is so fucking evil. Yeah, it's like what Ahmed was saying. It's not surprising. It's just a continuation of what has been happening. More people are paying attention than ever, but also it's hard not to feel so disempowered and disillusioned with everything going on in the world, but fighting back against these power structures.
According to the Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi, the U.S. and Iran are not engaged in direct talks and will not restart them as long as Washington continues to breach the interim deal. This is Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian.
Instead of sitting down to resolve them then, we need to see how to resolve them now. If a solution is possible, which is currently being worked on in the Oman negotiations, God willing, we will reach a point where we can get out of this state of neither war nor peace.
Yemen's Iran-backed Houthis attacked a Saudi Aramco refinery on Sunday, 2 days after Saudi Arabia forged a defense pact with Turkey and Pakistan. The alliance pledges mutual defense, which means an armed attack on any one member counts as an attack on all. But after Sunday's attack, it was not immediately clear whether Turkey or Pakistan would respond. The Houthis also attacked the Yemeni Red Sea port city of Mocha, close to the strategic Bab el-Mandeb Strait, killing at least 7 people. Last month, Houthi leaders declared a naval blockade against Saudi Arabia, claiming a Saudi siege on the militia group. In Russia, a Ukrainian drone attack has killed at least 13 people, including 1 child, this morning. It's one of the deadliest attacks on Russia since the start of Moscow's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022. This comes as Russia and Ukraine traded attacks on Sunday. A Russian strike hit an apartment block in Kharkiv, Ukraine, killing 3 people and wounding 37. Meanwhile, in Belgorod, Russia, a Ukrainian drone attack killed 5 people and wounded 25. Here in the U.S., President Trump's former personal lawyer, Todd Blanche, was confirmed as Attorney General Saturday morning by a narrow 50-49 vote in the Senate. Republicans.
Yeah. Using all of their political power to get this shithead appointed. It's like, would it make a difference if he wasn't appointed? Like, I mean, it would be someone else. So another one of these cronies, there are seemingly an endless amount of them, just replaced with someone else who is reprehensible. But like, you would think that would be a conflict of interest, that the president should not be able to have someone who has been his personal defense attorney be the attorney general. But, you know, what the fuck do I know? I did want to share this. Food Not Bombs is an organization that helps distribute food in your community, in our communities. So there are a number of ways that people can volunteer. You can donate. So this gives a little bit of an overview. The U.S. and Israeli war against the people of Iran is not only killing thousands of people, it is likely to cause an economic collapse, and also the genocide that is happening. The number of genocides that are happening. The number of people seeking food could increase. The brutality of the war and the resulting financial chaos may cause many people to despair. Along with sharing food, the feeling of community found at the Food Not Bombs meals will be essential. World hunger is on the increase. Farmers around the globe are facing shortages in fertilizer as a result of the closing of the Strait of Hormuz. As millions of Americans are struggling with disruptions in food stamps, Section 8 cuts, layoffs, and rising costs, there's plenty of money for war. The threat of a global conflict between nuclear-armed countries has never been this close. The number of Americans becoming homeless increased by 32% during the Biden administration, but under Trump, those numbers are sure to increase. Child poverty in the U.S. more than doubled in the last 12 months of Biden's presidency, but now with the SNAP and WIC crisis, that has grown even more dire. So SNAP, those are colloquially termed food stamps, so actually helping to provide some sort of assistance to families that are needing food, that experience food insecurity. WIC stands for Women, Infants, and Children. These are programs that are by the government, that are also found the federal government, but they're also found in state governments, and then local health departments and local governments like the county and cities are also involved in these programs and helping to distribute them. Yeah, with everything that happened with the Doge idiots. As many a dozen seniors call the Food Not Bombs hunger hotline each day seeking home delivery of groceries, often reporting that they have not eaten in days. Volunteers are still organizing to provide relief to those suffering from the ravages of cyclones in the Philippines and Myanmar earthquake. War refugees are lining up for our meals in Europe and the Americas. As the economy grows more dire, the number of people seeking support from Food Not Bombs has never been so great. Volunteers are busy providing food at labor strikes, Palestinian actions, and in defense of undocumented workers. Thankfully, we are asked to add new Food Not Bombs groups to our map several times a day in response to these crises. Please join us. When 1 billion people go hungry each day, how can we spend another dollar on war? Food Not Bombs is an all-volunteer movement that recovers food that would otherwise be discarded and shares free vegan and vegetarian meals with the hungry in over 1,000 cities in 65 countries in protest to war, poverty, and destruction of the environment. We are not a charity, but dedicated to taking nonviolent direct action. Our movement has no headquarters or positions of leadership, and we use the process of consensus to make decisions, which has a lot of basis in, leftist organizing, anarchist organizing. We also provide food and supplies to the survivors of natural disasters and people participating in occupations, strikes, marches, and other protests. Yeah, so you can make a donation. Yeah, activist groups like Food Not Bombs could be targeted under the Trump administration's campaign to silence groups he claims are associated with Antifa. We can take steps to avoid being framed for FBI-invented terrorist plots by speaking out against suggestions to use violence. Please read and share the Anarchist Cook Substack. Yeah, so there are a number of resources and information, education that they share. Hello, Britt Griff. Welcome. How are things with you? Sounds like followers of the apocalypse. Yep. Yep, that's another one of people doing community organizing, anarchists doing organizing. There are a couple of other places around where I'm located, like getting involved with like food volunteering, and how like this, with it being international, that there are steps to help people develop their own their own chapters for people to join as well. How are things with you, Brick? Do you prefer Brick, Griff, the whole thing?
Senator Bill Cassidy of Louisiana cast the deciding vote to confirm Blanche. Republican Senators Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski voted against Blanche's nomination. Some Republican senators had questioned Blanche's mismanagement of the release of the Epstein files and his role in creating President Trump's $1.8 billion so-called anti-weaponization fund. Blanche eventually walked back the fund after 2 Republican senators threatened to withhold their votes. A federal appeals
Solid
court
as a
ruled
brick.
Friday that Trump
Amazing.
cannot build a
I wouldn't
ballroom to
expect
replace the
anything
White
else.
House East Wing without congressional approval. The court confirmed the lower court's ruling that the
How
president
has
has no
streaming
legal
been going
authority
too?
to tear down and rebuild White House sections without Congress's approval.
Just survived a potential tornado? Jesus. I'm glad you're safe. That shit is scary. Yeah, stay safe
President
out
Trump
there.
vowed to appeal the ruling, writing on Truth Social, quote, "It is all tied together as one big, expensive, and very complex unit, which is vital for national security and military operations of the United States of America. This unjust decision must be overturned by the Supreme Court in its entirety,"
Baltimore
Trump
gets
wrote.
those once in a blue moon.
In Colombia,
I didn't
right-wing
know
President Abelardo
it even happened out there. Yeah, Baltimore. I got you. I understood. Yeah, that is wild. There have been a couple of tornadoes that have happened in Utah over the years, maybe more than a couple, but it's not normally a place that really gets tornadoes a lot. I think especially with like all of the bullshit happening globally with climate change, that's certainly not helping. I'm not a scientist. I don't know about weather, but that seems like that is a pattern.
de la Espriella was sworn in Friday. King Felipe VI of Spain, U.S. Attorney General Todd Blanche, FIFA President Gianni Infantino, and right-wing Latin American presidents, including Argentina's Javier Milei, Ecuador's Daniel Noboa, and Chile's José Antonio Cast were in attendance. This is Abelardo de la Espriella speaking from the city of Cali, where he vowed to crack down on armed groups and abandon peace efforts.
Yeah, the Trump administration donated $1 billion.
There will not be a
It's like, oh, so we don't have money for anything that is going towards the human dignity, survival of people who are living in the United States, because that's not the point of empire. It's not the point of nation states, really. Nothing but non-committal stormy weather since Otakon. Gotta reset the trails at the forest due to fallen branches and trunks. Oh, yeah. Yeah, has there been a lot of debris then? Wait, was there a state reason for supporting Colombia? Trump likes that this person was elected because he's appealed a stated reason. I don't know what the reason was given, and at this point there isn't even really like a need for it. Where like they just are doing things and they don't even care to like go through the whole like facade of presenting a reason, of him just being like, yeah, I like this guy. That's at least what I heard, where he has been sucking up to Trump and also has fascist inclinations, so he's like, yeah, this guy's great. Yeah, I got lost for the first time in forever because of all of the debris. Damn.
Single place in our territory where criminals can feel safe. I make my own words of Winston Churchill. Victory at all costs. Victory in spite of terror. Victory however long and hard the road may be. Because without victory, there is no survival.
Temporary protected status, TPS, for thousands of immigrants from South Sudan and Burma is set to end after 2 federal judges sided with the Trump administration's efforts to terminate the relief. The move will impact over 200 South Sudanese nationals and an estimated 4,000 immigrants from Burma who will now face deportation. This comes after a U.S. Supreme Court ruling ended TPS for immigrants from Haiti and Syria. In related news, the Trump administration has detained dozens of parents and spouses of active duty U.S. military personnel in its immigration crackdown. That's according to an investigation by the Associated Press, which found more than 50 parents and spouses of U.S. service members have been arrested since Trump returned to office. At least 6 have been deported. This comes as the nation...
Yeah, all about the troops in theory, but in practice, where there is advertising, recruiting in marginalized communities under the guise of getting an education, but just viewing people as collateral, as assets, the specific word, to be disposed of, come back, have no substantial care. It's all about just empire. I really don't understand the inclination to join the military. I mean, how different is the US military than the IDF? Like, we need to talk about that. Especially with the history of US empire. But this is a pattern not only with the IDF and the US, it is colonizer shit. They're helping a buddy shoot a promo for a new educational series they're calling Field Notes, and he said he got lost too. That's cool you were doing that. I love that, but yeah, that's wild, especially in areas that you're familiar with.
nation's 2 largest private prison companies, Core Civic and Geo Group, reported a combined
I'd be interested in watching
$1.4
that.
billion in quarterly revenue between April and June, as immigrant detention skyrockets under Trump's second term. A record 51,000 immigrants were arrested in July alone. In Texas, rallies continue this weekend to mark 1 month since the July 7th ICE killing of 52-year-old Mexican father Lorenzo Salgado Araujo in Houston. The agents involved have not been identified as his family, and supporters demand for justice. In South Africa, more than 178,000 African immigrants have been forced to flee and return home in recent months amid growing violence and harassment. That includes an estimated 115,000 people who've returned to Zimbabwe since May. Advocacy groups report thousands of children have been removed from schools and HIV patients pulled from life-saving treatment in South Africa. Wildfires continue to burn across the western U.S. and Canada.
Which also, it doesn't help that all of these programs that were part of foreign aid by the US were completely dismantled and stripped. That doesn't mean that they weren't covers for CIA operations, this form of soft power, and to continue having a foothold in countries, to continue oppression, but also the removal of these things means that there is a human cost of human lives that is also a factor.
Canada, as firefighting crews struggle to contain the devastating blazes. Some 20,000 people in British Columbia were ordered to evacuate on Saturday as the massive Bold Range wildfire nearly doubled in size overnight near the regions of Summerland and Peachland. British Columbia's premier said the fire was, quote, like a bomb going off. There are more than 100 active fires in the region, setting off a state of emergency. Scientists warn worsening heat waves and drought due to climate change has led to more frequent and intense fires worldwide. And in Japan, bells rang in Nagasaki Sunday as the city commemorated 81 years since the U.S. dropped the atomic bomb. The attack on August 9th, 1945, killed 74,000 people just 3 days after the U.S. dropped the first nuclear weapon ever used in war on the city of Hiroshima, killing 140,000 people. This is the mayor of Nagasaki.
Yeah, especially as we're talking about Iran, this completely unwarranted, immoral, illegal. I mean, what even is illegal in these definitions of what is considered legal when these nation states are so often not acting in ways that are moral? So how can we consider immoral laws to be legal? Like, we have to address that the only nation state that has used nukes is the US. And so with all of this fear mongering to be like, oh, Iran, they're going to have a nuclear weapon. And even though like that has been said for years and years and years as a way to inspire fear and to impose oppression and colonial domination and violence and to justify more arming, more arms and military might to Israel, that it's like, okay, so if we're talking about the biggest threat to the world, it seems like it's probably the US, with the only nation state having used a nuke on people. Sorry, this is all very somber, but I'm drooling over that boot. No, it is somber, but yeah, we can admire the view as well. Also, like the hand gestures, like very. There's a lot of sass to it, which I like, but I'm with you.
The atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki forced us to confront the reality that humanity had crossed even in the line of using nuclear weapons against human beings. The theory of nuclear deterrence is extremely risky. Nuclear weapons are not a necessary evil, but an absolute evil, and humanity and nuclear weapons can never coexist.
The anniversary came as the government of Japan's ultra-conservative Prime Minister Sanae Takeichi has shifted defense policies to bolster militarization. Takeichi has been widely ambiguous about her long-term commitment to maintain Japan's 3 non-nuclear principles endorsed over 50 years ago. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report.
Thanks for watching Democracy Now! On YouTube. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to make sure you never miss a video. And for more of our audience-supported journalism, go to democracynow.org, where you can download our news app, sign up for our newsletter, subscribe to the daily podcast, and so much more.
This is recirculating the video that FD did on Killer Mike, because Killer Mike recently came out and was dissing FD, and you know, like, FD has a lot of people on his side. Okay, so you know, the news, it's all very bleak, but you know, this is also where it's important to be talking about like where we actually have an impact. And the more local we are with our organizing, this is often where we have the most impact. And what this looks like to each person is, of course, extremely individualized. So I'm not going to be telling people how they should get involved, what speaks to them, but it is increasingly important. I mean, it's always been important, but with everything going on, it not only helps to have a sense of community, but to be developing these systems outside of the oppressive ones that exist, and that it is radical to be viewing each other as human beings these days. So, hello, Bouncy. Welcome. How are things with you? Good to see you. Okay, so I saw this video that was recommended to me by Khadija Mbawe. I really enjoy their content, and especially as we are talking about the bullshit happening in the world. Now it's a party, exactly. Woo! That's the party dance, I guess. Doing great. Glad to hear it. Amazing. How are you doing? I'm doing all right, you know, hanging in there. We got like some ants in our place over the weekend, and a lot of them. So we were being colonized. We're being colonized in many ways, and I'm like, we don't need these little shits in here. I don't really like killing things. But also I don't want them like crawling on me in the night. Ants, bugs mentioned. Hello, Zupador. Welcome. Everyone, go follow, subscribe to Brickgriff and Zupador. Great streamers, providing some great content. Some cool people. There's so much solidarity and just people I'm very inspired by that are streaming. I really love that. Ants, bugs, yes. We got some ants in the place and got some traps. They actually worked a lot, but I was like, maybe the curse on this place was not lifted. Maybe there was like a spirit that was banished from the place that we live. But like this happened all at once. So, oh, whoops. I started it and I didn't mean to. But they have been effective, so that's good. But I like had some big plans for the weekend, and we are doing a lot of like vacuuming ants. There you go. Just had to change course, but such is life, I guess. How are things with you, Zupador? I do not support bugs causing people problems. I agree. I like that. I have a fear of spiders. I know they're good for the planet and that like they're much more afraid of us than we are of them, but there's something very instinctual about it that I'm like, I don't like killing them either, but also I don't want them like crawling around near me, like on my person in my vicinity. I had like a couple of instances growing up where there was like a couple of times like someone like found a spider in my hair and I was like, I hate that. When I was climbing a tree, a spider fell on my face. So I'm like, I don't need that. They can do that elsewhere. But yeah, thank you for the support. I'm like, go do that somewhere else. All right. So, as we are talking about world events, oh, but also, how are you, Zupador? How did the rest of your stream go today? To be honest, I have not seen Baldur's Gate. I'm not a gamer. This, for those who watch regularly, this will not be a surprise. But it was interesting to be introduced to it. So I'm like, I had so many questions, but I'm like, I'm probably going to ask so many ignorant things that people are like, what are your, like, you can just look this up. And so I did, but I was learning about it. It was very entertaining. If you're feeling up to it, you can get better through exposure if you go that route. I suggest looking up jumping spiders who have faces that are pretty cute. No, it is true. And I have gotten better at especially when it comes to like trapping them and releasing them. Because when I was younger, I would like see a spider and immediately kill them or get someone to kill them. But yeah, now I try to trap them and like let them outside because like it's not their fault. They have so many legs and eyes, and like I feel like they have a lot of ancient wisdom. Like they have a lot of symbolism for ancient wisdom. They're protectors of your home. They don't like being outside. I know. I'm like, just don't be crawling on me, please. They're really freaky. Utah gets some pretty intense spiders too. Like, not too long ago, we actually got a wolf spider. If you want to be scared, you can look up that. We had a wolf spider in our place. That was not cute. I like you could see it from across the room. Indoor mosquitoes, I kill them. Yeah. Mosquitoes, fuck mosquitoes. Fuck mosquitoes. They honestly are not good. They're not great. They pollinate, like the few things they do pollinate are mostly like weeds and a lot of plants that are not like indigenous to areas. So fuck them. I'm very thankful to be feeling well enough to be back at it. I know you do such a great job. You have great commentary and have very entertaining conversation. I don't mind questions even if they're silly, but that's kind. Yeah, I like watching people game. I've never been like immersed in gaming. You can tell by the way I'm saying that. But I have always enjoyed watching people play games. So that's like a good spot for me is on Twitch, watching streamers I enjoy. Outside ones are good at getting outside. The inside ones get eaten by birds. Do they? Oh, they crawl on you? Oh, never mind. When I was in Atlanta, things are different. Oh, with spiders? Yeah. Um, they can. They can. I have like an actual spider sense. Like before I even see one, I can like feel it where like the hair like sticks up on my neck and my arms and I'm like there's a spider in here and I look around and there is. I'm getting weird red mushrooms that attract flies. Oh, interesting. The majority of the people who regularly watch me haven't played the games that I'm playing, so not knowing what is going on is very normal. Okay, that's good to know. What? These look so wild. Warning. Yeah, they look like they're gonna hurt you. Yeah, those look dangerous. I mean, the color is very, like, vibrant, but also that's why it looks so dangerous. And attracting flies, too. That's yikes. Yeah, if you ever want to be scared, you can look up some of the spiders that are in Utah. I mean, as you were talking about Atlanta, Atlanta gets some pretty intense spiders too. Like some of the ones we get in Utah, wolf spiders, hobo spiders, get tarantulas here. Yeah, I don't want the spiders to be eaten. I also don't want to kill them. So, but I also don't want them like in my place. I don't want them in my space. No, no, you have outdoor spiders indoors. Wolfie. Yeah, they're not cute. Not cute at all. I couldn't live in the US where there are serious spiders, only Australia. Yeah, Australia has some intense spiders too. It's like if you're going to be in a place with spiders, choose wisely. Cut paper is the way to go if you can manage it. Yep, that is what I do. Have a little cup, get a paper, and then like hope that I caught it and then it's like not crawling on me somewhere, and then release it. Yeah, I'm like, I don't want to be scared of you, but instinct, I guess. And also some of those like experiences growing up where I'm like, I've had too many of them crawling on me to not be unnerved. You know what I mean? Ugh. I just get little woodlouse spiders and even smaller ones. Oh, interesting. Hi, buddy. Kit is joining us. You can just barely see him. Oh, there we go. Hi. Kit's in here. Juniper's in here. I don't know if you all can tell. She's looking very content. I like repositioned the blanket in her little basket slightly, and now it's acceptable. Buddy. We'll see if he hops up. Just saw the gray cat. There was a Juniper over there. Yep, she does blend in. Especially with like where she is with the wallpaper, where it's like a little bit dark in the middle. She's always on quality control. She's making sure that we're behaving. Which, you know, that's not always happening. Come on. But I don't think she's a narc. I just learned about these narc robots that they've been making, like police robots for surveillance. Like in addition to like all the like flock cameras that are going on. Like, ugh. We live in such a dystopian era. Speaking of, shall we get into this video? This is by Khadija. They have some really great content. I enjoy their commentary. They talk a lot about pop culture, but social issues and philosophy, politics interwoven. And they do some educational content as well. And this video was recommended to me. I've seen about like 10 minutes of it, but I think this is particularly pertinent to being disheartened by the headlines and why not just women, but people in general are choosing to be child-free. But already, you know, they were making some really great comments, per usual. I will link to their channel. I love this. This thumbnail. Misogynist? Boobs? What? My biggest dream as a kid was to work in robotics. Oh. But 99% of robotics are for policing and war and makes me feel better about not succeeding at that. Well, I guess there's that. That is kind of sad to see that childhood dream die, but, you know, if it has to, might as well do it in a way that's not supporting the police state. Hello, sweet Pyro of Cairo. Welcome. How are things with you? We've been talking about headlines, the dystopian world we are existing in, I mentioned being invaded by ants, colonized by ants, taking care of that. And then we were talking about spiders and how they're scary but good for the planet. And now we're talking about why people are choosing to be child-free. This also is related to Shakespeare. At least this is my attempt at making connections. And which kinds of people are often categorized as witches, because there are witches in Macbeth. Which people are often targeted for being having too much autonomy and power in situations. So plan to lurk to see where this stream is going, and still is my plan. Okay, good to know. Lurk away, do what you need to do. All right, let's get into it.
Earlier this year, the CDC reported that there was a decline
Yeah,
in
have a
birth
good
rate
lurk.
in the
Thanks for
United
being here.
States. In Canada as well, there was also a report that the birth rate had been declining. These reports always talk about how birth rates kind of climb and go down and kind of go up and down, but it's been steadily declining for the last few decades. And it's not just Canada and the US. Lots of wealthy countries are reporting that their fertility rates are just
You mean cunning women?
nosedive.
Exactly.
And the
Cunning,
girlies are
ambitious women
declining, I would like to
who don't
share,
have husbands,
10 reasons
who may
why
be
you should
queer,
not have kids.
who don't have children.
Girl, fuck them kids and fuck you too.
The theater kids are getting into it too. Have you read Caliban and the Witch? I've read part of it, but I haven't read it all the way through. I've only read excerpts, but I need to. An excellent one.
They're
I love
super
that
upset
reference.
about it. We're devastated that we can't bring a child into this tumultuous.
Can we just appreciate their heart jewelry, their piercings? I mean, the whole look that Khadijah has is just incredible. The hair tone and bleached eyebrows, makeup, just lovely.
Turmoil-filled hellhole, literally rotting from the inside out. We're so sad about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, for those of you that don't know what the clip was that I used at the very beginning, that's a scene from Insecure, Issa Rae's show, where she finds out that her ex that she cheated on, girl, we can't even talk about Issa's character in that show, but anyway, her ex that she cheated on got some other girl pregnant, and she was meeting the baby. She didn't actually obviously throw the baby in the garbage. It was a dream
I've enjoyed
sequence. But when
Insecure
I
as
first
a
saw
show.
that scene, I was like, we're allowed to depict this?
A
We're allowed to just throw
Starfire
babies
look.
in the
I
garbage
don't know
now?
what that means, but I'm gonna look
What?
them up.
I was a bit shocked, and I thought it was hilarious though. So between that clip, hearing about this declining birth rate and tons of girls online talking about it, and
Okay. Uh-huh. Oh, this is Starfire. Okay, I'm making connections. I reveal each stream that I am not chronically online and have not been. Yeah, I think that is a really great reference. She's sometimes referred to as black. There are debates online about her. Oh, okay, interesting. I used to watch a shit ton of Teen Titans. Honestly, I did too. I thought Robin was annoying, but I did like her character, Starfire. Maybe contributed to my queer awakening. She canonically has golden skin. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. Also, Britt Griff, I don't know if I saw that you were saying of like attending a Comic-Con recently. I hope you had a wonderful time.
Noticing, at least for myself, that in a lot of horror movies that I watch,
If I ever went to Comic-Con, I would probably dress up as like some version of Catwoman, because I think of myself as like a non-binary cat person. Like, Catwoman's anti-cop. I like that. Doesn't like men. Except for her being with a billionaire. Bruce Wayne is... we need to dump the character of Batman. That's my take. Staffing Otakon, then attended Supernova in Baltimore. Oh, okay. That's so fun. With your mom, too? That's amazing. I hope you had such a great time.
lately, it's fuck them kids for real. Like,
If you don't mind sharing, how did you dress up? And you don't have to if you aren't comfortable sharing.
On television or in cinema. As we push the envelope more and more, people are like, who fucking cares? And the kids can get it too, even if they're not actually obviously.
Hello, Aliana. Boomso, welcome.
All of this got me thinking, wow, we really said fuck them kids. And I want to unpack some of the reasons why some of us are saying fuck them kids. Mainly the reasons why I'm saying fuck them kids, and maybe those might resonate with y'all. Okay, let's get into it.
Guys, we're giving away toys again. And by we, I mean me and Balessa. We're setting out free toys or gift cards for toys.
Otakon is anime Asian culture, while Supernova is a video game tournament. Oh, okay. That's good to know.
Wellness, and they really want to empower everyone to embrace and explore.
It was weird. We had to buy controllers because we didn't bring our own, and they didn't provide any. Huh. Especially if that wasn't like part of like the advertising or like on the ticket.
The thump. This one does it all.
No billionaire playboy to celebrate? Thank you.
It uses Balessa's improved pleasure jet technology, and it fits in a very
non-binary cat person, whatever you feel like, but I need some time to integrate that in my universe. Okay. There've been like a number of times I've done like, not a number, I think like twice I've done like cat makeup on stream. We'll see if I do that anytime soon. That can contribute to the Pinterest board.
Technology, and as Balessa always knows how to do, it's ergonomically sculpted. So
you're looking for is neon binary. Yeah, exactly.
They improved the controls, got longer battery life, and a remote control. So if you would like to get free
yes,
toys,
Catwoman appeals to the pet play. I love the musical Cats. Usually do a generic water Pokemon trainer. I wear my flip-flops and trunks and I sling my giant shiny red
everything costs money. It's expensive to do everything.
Crochet hat
everything
is
pricey. You can't go outside
I love that.
without it being expensive.
That's cute.
Like, I'm saying this as somebody who lives in a neighborhood that is pretty like chill. There's parks, there's things to do that could be free or cheap-ish.
Greatest
but
queer
yeah, every
cat
time
film?
you go outside, it's something.
No.
And everything's getting more expensive, but nobody's getting paid more. When's the last time you got a raise, boo?
Wait, Zupador, don't you do queer movie night? Is that correct? I think that was something I was picking up on. Baby cat. Ah, what? People, go join. If you want to share how people can join. I love that. Building community. Highlighting films that we need to see. When Dana moves into her new apartment, she falls in love with the building's cat, but the cat is actually an adult woman in a costume. Okay, this is definitely for me. I love this. Yeah, I didn't know this was a thing. It looks very camp, and we love that. Clearly, a lot of pet play involved. Aliana was keeping you updated. Oh, yeah. On organization activities. That's amazing. That's some anime shit. Yep. I'm gonna have to check that out. If you're ever watching it for Queer Movie Night. The one issue I have with it is that the intro credits use generative AI cat images. Okay, that's good to know. But if you can get past that, it's legit my favorite movie. Really? That's cute. I love that. Okay. Yeah, we can acknowledge all of these things of like the compromises that were made in order to make it. Ooh, this is fun. Okay, I'll have to watch. The rest of the film doesn't use AI and it's all low budget fun. That's amazing. It also just goes to show how, like, you don't need a shit ton of money to make good art. I mean, it certainly can help, especially if you're going for a certain look, but it is about, like, the creativity and ideas behind it. Amazing. This is such a good recommendation. Maybe we'll watch the, like, trailer for it for Culture Corner that I do on Fridays. So feel free to join if you want. And I'm gonna have to watch that. Yay!
Someone you know? Listen, I chose the artist life. I am doing pretty damn well for myself as an artist because, girl, it's not easy, okay? But, yeah.
Something because I'm not on social media, really, and I have not been, the most, like, internet time that I have is on YouTube, for better or worse. On Twitch as well, but especially more recently. But these are a lot of, like, TikTok mics, apparently. I sound like such a boomer. But I love how people have been getting increasingly creative for holding them, because I think it's still a thing for people to be holding them, but, like, just with their hands. But I've been seeing even more of, like, using objects. I think you're saying I should promote my queer movie night. Yes, exactly. If you'd like to join. Yay! Okay. You don't need to ask me twice. Very cute. Thank you for
I'm still
sharing.
financially scared all the time. And if I feel that way about myself all the time, that anxious financial albatross just hanging over my neck, why the fuck do you think that I would ever in my goddamn life decide to bring in another person willingly into that financial constraint, into that financial abyss, into that anxiety and fear? Why the fuck would I do some shit like that? Willingly? What the fuck? I am trying to take care of myself. And at the end of each month, the money is gone. If I had to add a whole other series of expenses, diapers, formula, although technically the debate of, like, whether you're not supposed to use
IMDb
formula
demanding
too
your
soon
birth date. Surveillance.
breastfeeding, my titties hurt all the time, the baby's biting on my nipples, my body's changed completely, I'm exhausted always, I'm with this man who don't even know how to fucking change a diaper, and I knew how to change one since I was 10! We're gonna get into all those things as well,
Ooh.
But it's nightmarish to be stressed about money, to be broke, and have to spend money on other things. Unless
That is so real, especially if you've gone through the socialized female experience, being assigned female at birth. Hi. That, like, growing up in Mormonism, for me, that is just expected of, like, okay, so the young women, that's how, like, their categories of, like, being very gendered, of, like, the youth from, like, 12 to 18 grouped together, forced to do a lot of activities, but, like, separately, where, like, the boys go, like, camping and shit and, like, learn survival skills or just play basketball a lot, do some scouts. And then the girls, people who are gendered female, learn how to, like, be mothers and cook meals and shit. And as part of this, it was always a default to be like, if there are, like, adult events happening, like, where the adults are like, oh, we're having, like, this type of, like, study group, or, like, this, like, a community gathering of sorts, it was always, like, the young women who were expected to watch the children. And so, like, feeling like you had to know how to, like, change diapers at a very young age, and also, like, that being a job, like, working from a young age, of just being like, yeah, like, you're 8, but you're gonna watch, like, these kids. I'm like, I don't know if I should have been watching kids when I was a kid, but, like, okay, you know. Changing a diaper is easy. Washing a diaper, ooh, I've never done that with, like, the cloth diapers. Yes, Khadija. Welcome, Dina. How are you? Good to see you. We have some amazing streamers in the chat. Also, go follow, subscribe to Dina. Congrats on surviving Mormonism to be a queer adult. Thank you. I appreciate that. Namaste to you. Because it's a rough time. But, you know, much to the displeasure of people around me, that was the case, but it's much more relaxing mentally. I mean, it's relaxing when, like, you hand over your mind and you're being told what to do, but having to not constantly be existing with cognitive dissonance, that is a lot. My folks were hippies in the 80s and 90s? No way! I love that. Free thinkers allowing their kids to hopefully just like be
You want
themselves.
kids, right? We'll talk about that too. But
hopefully that was your
I'm just saying,
experience.
a lot of us don't want kids because we know being.
Okay, Dina, we've
broke
been
is not-
talking about headlines to everyone's despair, but also talking about resources and how we can organize, but also how with world events this is making people not want to have kids, let alone like be able to afford having kids, and how I'm relating this to who is often like demonized in society by colonizers, especially as being witches, childless women who have more autonomy and power, who don't have husbands. This often coincides with queerness. So Khadija often gives an overture at the top of the show. Yeah, it is true. I recently watched their video on Michael Jackson where they were getting emotional, and I'm like, I mean, people who grew up loving Michael Jackson, or just like any like celebrity of like developing relationships to them through their art, that I think we can all experience the like, oh, once people get to a certain class and stuff, like, can we count on them to be moral people? You know,
Fun, and being broke with a dependent is hell. At least that's how we perceive it. Maybe some of y'all are doing well. If you are, or you're able to manage it, please let me know. Just because I'm saying it's hell doesn't mean I'm judging your life or anything like that. I'm just saying this is why I do not want to have kids. The money portion, number one. Number two, men are trash. Okay, first off, let's say this. This is a
delivery.
queer space. It's not queer.
Trash.
It's not solely queer. I have a large queer audience. I actually don't know. How many of y'all are homosexual? And how many of y'all are straight? Let me know. I actually don't know that demographic. Tell me, comment below. Okay, if you want to, you don't have to out yourself. Or maybe you want to on my Patreon. What's that? Okay, anyway, the chaos is back. Okay, but I brought all that up because yes, we know that you can have children without being in a heterosexual monogamous relationship. We know this. But I'm saying because women barely want to date men, it is becoming less and less likely that they're gonna have children with them. So that's a whole other section of the population that's choosing not to have kids.
By the way, this is something like with the overturning of Roe v. Wade that I was wondering would happen, of that there would be an influx of angry, sapphically inclined femme people. And, you know, babies, of course, gender expansive people, but people who have uteruses, especially, being very queer in nature because or like not being invested in relationships that could possibly result in pregnancies, that like, you know, they're, especially with like all of the like that contributed to the manosphere content of like one of the reasons that like young men historically over time, this is a generalization that I am about to make. We have a lot of interest in common. Ooh, good. I love that. One of the things that I think helps, and sadly, because this can often come from a place that isn't necessarily like helpful or sincere, is that there is incentive for young men, people who are socialized male, to be nice to people who are assigned female at birth and socialized female because they want to fuck or date. Like, so, like, whatever that may mean. like what those relationships look like, but there is that incentive. And that when you have young men that are growing up in a very online sphere with these people that are like, oh, the problem isn't like breaking down these systems because they're protecting the systems, like patriarchy. They're like, the problem is other people telling you that like you are just needing to, like, you're a bad person. And it's like, okay. And also out of necessity, people who have uteruses not engaging in many kinds of sexual encounters with people who've been assigned male at birth a lot of the time and who are conditioned male, that and are hetero, especially, like all of these types of systems, how they coincide, to be like, we are not going to have sex because this is dangerous. And how this has also coincided with like non-consensual choking in cis hetero relationships, like sexual encounters, that it's like the violence of patriarchy and cisness and straightness, and like also being able-bodied, of like all of these things coinciding to be like, okay, how is this happening so that certain people are just not wanting to engage in sexual activity at all? And, you know, it certainly does not help with all of our material conditions just deteriorating by the day. So there we go. That was long-winded, but what galls me is when poor men say women control family courts because rich men set it up so they, the rich men, don't have to care for children. They can legally prove we're illegitimate. Yep, that's a... Yep. I think that's really well put. Being femme and trying to date men is horrifyingly scary. Shout out aces! Yep, exactly. Exactly. I think, like, especially for the, like, ace crowd, because, like, I consider myself to be on the ace spectrum, especially I'm like, okay, so you can be, like, physically attracted to someone. What does that even mean? Especially when there's so many forces dictating who we view to be attractive to begin with. A lot of it's based on white supremacy and ableism, and, like, colonizer agendas. That it's like, okay, but what do you have to say? Because if you have shit opinions, then that makes you, like, an ugly person. Like, if you don't view other human beings as human beings, then that means you're ugly. Arrow ace is the place. Amazing. Aromantic, asexual. Yeah. Being femme and also trying to date men. Yeah, the, like, cis het men that are, like, they just, like, don't know how to behave. And it's sad because then they, like, don't even know what they're doing wrong, but then they also don't want to learn. And it's the conditioning involved as well. Of, like, there's a phenomenon in Utah especially, but it's not exclusive to Utah, where there are, like, these young men that grow up where, like, their moms are really weird with them. And, like, any sort of partner they have, they're like, oh, they aren't good enough, or they aren't this, or like it feels like very, like, predatory in nature. And that is a very, like, common thing among Mormon moms to be like, I'm a boy mom, and then, like, have a really weird relationship with, like, their teenage sons that feels like sexual, like, overtones, that I'm like, this doesn't feel right or safe. But then also, like, this is how they're learning to, like, develop in the world, and then they're learning from their mom of, like, all of that internalized misogyny to be like, oh, like, no, like, girl or woman is ever good enough. And yeah, not to mention, like, the messaging they're getting from all of these, like, manosphere idiots that they're like, women are, like, inherently submissive. That's like, you do realize, like, you're a very weak person if you have to, like, demand submission from someone. Like, that's not what it means to be dominant. That's not what it means to be a dom. That it's, like, way more powerful, like, not to mention ethical and moral to actually have consent, but, like, that's true power, is, like, people are willing to engage in that kind of power exchange. Like, that shows a lot of, like, trust, and it's an honor to be entrusted with that. Oedipal. Yeah. You saw this recently and felt validated?
So you're planning on going through like a full transition?
I'm one of these people that's just like, fuck the binary, you know? So I'm kind of, I like it. My main goal is just to scare the shit out of people, you know? Just be incomprehensible, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, I'm 3 months now on estrogen, and I'm loving it. It was a decision that I didn't make immediately, because I was like, damn, you know, am I really gonna feel right in this? And then I did it, and I was like, yeah, never mind.
What was like the jump off point that made you feel like it's time?
I started getting real buff. I was like, oh, what? Who the fuck is that in the mirror, you know? And it was just from like normal shit, you know? I'd just be like lifting boxes or something.
And you didn't like being buff?
Well, it's not, it's just that the body that I had, I was no longer identified as closely with. I was like, whoa, you know? Like, I don't mind being strong, but I don't want to be like, you know.
You didn't want to look like a douchebag.
Yeah.
So you feel like if you got too buff, fools would be like, fuck this fool.
Andrew Callahan sucks with this does seem good content. I know, I feel similarly.
And thick. My testimony, I'm nothing but pure, and I ask you if you want to be in the YouTube channel. And you like scrawny guys.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, I don't like him as a person. I have many issues with him, but also of like him, he does have some good things that he has featured, or like his latest content of him going to Palestine. Like, I think that is helpful, especially being like a young white dude with a lot of privilege, of being able to like talk to people and go in spaces that like many others
Also,
would not be able to.
I feel like I date primarily women, so I feel like women would look at me and be like, wow, you're so buff. And
So you feel like if you got too buff, you'd attract more superficial ladies?
I don't know if I don't know if I say that. Maybe, but I think
he has allegations. Yeah, and I've heard about that too. And I think also of like acknowledging how there are many people who have, like, this isn't to minimize those allegations at all, but like many people who are like creators or who like grow up online, like with the internet, not understanding like what these kind of power imbalances are, or like being a boss and employees, of like not having the conversation of like what can, like, people can't possibly offer consent in that type of relationship, and how it is like, I think, a larger symptom, like, again, not to minimize what like he has done. I think we need to confront that and not normalize it, but that it is part of like the larger issue of like consent not being taught, of like what power dynamics even mean, of like power imbalances. And then once we start talking about that and power imbalances in general, then people start to realize like, oh, there are all of these power imbalances that exist in the world, and we don't really consent to any of them. So how is that fair? It just like starts to deconstruct all of these oppressive systems. I have a question. I have a question for the queers, for the gender expansive queers. Our transness, gender expansiveness, like, what are some thoughts that you realize later on are dysphoric, that you're like, oh, that was a dysphoric thought for me, of like them mentioning like, oh, I was getting too buff, like that was like starting to kind of like deconstruct some things, or like for me, a dysphoric thought that I have is like, how many push-ups do I have to do in order to like get rid of my tits? I'm like, I don't think it works like that. Especially with like how large they are. Why do women get all the fun clothes? Yeah, self-expression, facial hair. Yeah, just the existence of it. Yeah, that's real. I know. Yeah, it doesn't even have to be a thought, of just the experience. First off, it's more about doing pull-ups. No, that's what I've learned later on. That's what I've learned later on. Stuff that is deemed stereotypically manly like that. Interesting. Yeah, where it's like, where you're like, oh, I thought, like, I just didn't like how I looked. And you're like, well, I guess that is a thing, but there's like something deeper happening here. I can grow a good beard, so I should because I'm a man. Oh, yep. I know of like, I think that's a good one. Like for me growing up, like having like some facial hair, like many people who are assigned female at birth are, but like the gender expansiveness there and being like, yeah, I have like some facial hair, and like me at first being like very like intense about it and being like, I have to pluck every single thing. And now I'm like, these babies are my pride and joy. Not as straightforward, but I had been trying to be romantic with, and I was being femme naturally, and I felt pushback, but it wasn't me, it was the expectation of what I was supposed to be. Interesting. Yeah. I think like another example for me is like growing up in Mormonism with like very defined gender roles. I think I like to give myself the illusion of choice. I like doubled down on being femme. So I would wear like skirts and like bows and like very very femme. And so then I was like, "Oh yeah, this is like what I like," because I felt like I was like choosing that part instead of like acknowledging what was lying under the surface. Most of my pre-transition relationships fell apart because I was expected to be the man, but I was not that. Interesting. I mean, it makes sense too. And I think it also is like talking about relationships as well, of like these imposed not even just like perspectives of gender. Yeah, sorry, that was withheld by the mod. That was lame. It's like how also it can go into queer relationships as well, of like patriarchy and who has proximity to maskness, and that being like associated with like assets and paying for things, of like how that can exist within queer relationships too. Twitch, let me describe myself how I want. Yeah, exactly. Like I had made a gay ass picnic virtual photo shoot and it was incredible, but then I like didn't share it because I was not understanding what I should do. Oh, it's stuff like that where I'm like, just let people be. Just let people be. But like how much of this shit is so internalized? It asked me if I really wanted to send it to. Really? Ew. I hate that. I got the opposite issue. People can't believe how thin I am, flat ass, and generally hairless. I would often test out saying things like, I didn't choose to be male, so I don't identify with it, kind of thing. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. How it's like once we start deconstructing these things. Okay, Automod. I'm sorry. Is there any way for me to. Do I have like the restrictions up too much? Probably, yeah, gay ass. Like, well, and what else would I be saying about me? You know? Like, I didn't have armpit hair until my 30s. I shave like once a year. Oh, interesting. You can disable auto mod. Okay. Not sure what the default is. Okay, I'll look into that. I'm still figuring all of this out. Because I'm like, especially when it's like there's so many things that's such bullshit that it is censoring. Like, we already experience censorship. We don't need that. It's like, well, someone's being queerphobic. That's like, okay, well, what about us just existing? Yeah, even that of saying like in queer streams, because it flags anything that is queer. Yeah, it's a way to suppress us from reclaiming language. under the guise of being like, we're keeping people safe. I had Automod on for a long time, and it was a running joke for people to just type "come" in my yeah, maybe I'll do that right now, because I don't want people to be censored. I am greatly enjoying your conversation. Luckily, there are, like, a hell of a lot of streamers here. I will not proclaim to be the most technologically savvy, but okay. Let's see. Moderation. Settings. Is it under, like, bullying? Do you all just have, like, all of Automod turned off? It's like, do I have random nerve damage in my face follicles? What's going on? I wondered what it would be like to be a girl in elementary school, but doesn't everyone? Stuff like that. Not quite like, am I broken? But like, yep. It's under settings. Halfway down. Is there a way to just turn it all off? Chatter permissions. Okay. There we go. Wait. I think I turned it off. Twitch provides Automod. Yeah. Hello, Linton. Welcome. Not sure if this is rude to ask, but do you use we pronouns in a plural sense? You just disabled follower only. Oh. Okay, you said halfway down. Followers only mode, subscribers only, non-mod chat delay, block hyperlinks, chat rules. Oh, that's what I set. Likely messages, no filtering. Okay, under smart detection, and then we have automod. No filtering. I found Twitch still does a decent job of screening suspicious users. I don't know if automod ever stopped a troll from posting something, actually. Yeah, that's true. Okay, I have no filtering for sex-based terms. Sexuality. No filtering. Oh, okay, here we go. Okay, I'm going no filtering. We'll see where this goes. And then I can moderate and time people out, ban people as needed. Likely evaders or harassers. Just testing. Gay ass. Why did it restrict it? Okay. It's like, even when there have been people, the ne'er-do-wells who enter the chat, it's like there isn't really stuff that like the automod catches anyway. I have one shield for slurs and discrimination. Could be under harassment. Okay, wait, let's see. Terms and phrases. Yeah, maybe for aggression I will. Sorry, I mean gay ass may have been automated for one of those filters. Oh, okay. Okay, I think we're getting somewhere. Didn't time that time. I know, I saw that. That's good. Progress. All right. Thank you. I appreciate it. Especially with like so many elements there and it's so ambiguous. It's like okay, partially like some filtering. Like what does that even mean? Mine would hold gay ass. I'd have to set up a permitted phrase setting. Maybe I need to add gay ass to my permitted settings. I mean, now I think it should be fine. It's not catching that anymore. Yeah, less filtering for racial ones. Yeah. Discrimination, aggressive. Holding gay ass. I like the sound of that. That's an activity we can get behind. Okay. What were we talking about before? Thank you all for your help. Oh yeah, talking about your pronouns. That's really cool. Thanks for providing that, Britt Griff. Oh, yeah, and you're talking about the Channel 5 clip. That's right. Here's my gay. There's a bit of a punchline at the end. Soup. Oh my god. Incredible. See, these are the kinds of gay asses that we need to see more often. All right.
I'd attract more straight ladies.
Wait. Oh, I
See
see.
what I'm
I see what you're saying
You're like
now.
looking for a man.
Yes.
And are you straight? You
No.
date the ladies though.
I date the ladies primarily.
Okay,
yeah.
but you have dated some of the homies.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
respect. Okay, and you're thinking like
The background
so you felt
showing
like
Mean
you
Girls.
would feel more comfortable having like a less masculine body, basically.
Gay asses.
You hit it on the head.
Yeah. And so how long does it take for the estrogen to like genuinely take effect in your body?
Yeah, so you start feeling it like depending on the method in which you take it, right? Like if you're taking the pills, it takes a little longer. If you're taking the patches, it takes a little longer. But I've been doing the shots, and bro, I am scared of needles. So it has been an
That's real.
experience. But I'm telling you, week 1, I was like, damn, my skin is smooth. What's going on?
What? I'm trying to get on that shit.
What's that? This is a whole tangent, but you know that like live longer dude?
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Gary Johnson.
Yes, Gary Johnson. Yeah, he's taking non-feminizing estrogen for this effect. I was
Damn,
like,
he should just
What
bite
is
the bullet and just go
non-feminizing
for it.
estrogen?
just do it, man. What are you doing?
Bruh, so your skin is getting smoother. Is your voice gonna change?
Probably a little, but again, I'm just trying to scare people. So I would like to look real feminine, and then somebody comes up to me and is like, "Hey," I'm like, "What?"
So you're planning on going through like a full transition?
I'm
Not
one
real,
of these people
okay.
that's just like fuck the binary, So I'm kind of.
I was thinking, like,
my
what
main
the
goal
fuck?
is to scare the shit out of people.
Yeah. It's just a way to sell it
incomprehensible.
to people invested in patriarchy.
Yeah, I'm 3 months
Middle was the
now
punchline.
on
It was so
estrogen,
much
and I'm loving
superficiality
it. It
as
was a decision
straightness
that
they were trying to avoid
I
in the
didn't
women they
make
date.
immediately
Oh,
'cause
yeah.
I was like, damn, am I really gonna feel right in this? And then I did it, and I was like, yeah, never mind.
What was like the jump off point that made you?
I love the comment of like being Fox News' worst nightmare too. Like, yeah. That's very real. Like, I think that's a worthy cause, you know? All right. I mean, without having health insurance, I don't have as much tea as what I would like regularly be taking, but it is amazing where I'm like, oh, I feel like I like looking in the mirror more. I'm like flexing in the mirror and stuff. I'm like, also a dysphoric thought is like, I just want to feel less round, whatever that means. Which is weird because it's stereotyped that straight guys like lesbians, but I've just been like, no, I'm a lesbian, kinda. well, I could see that with the roundness. Yeah, like, yeah, like with a face and, like tits that I'm just like, oh, I just feel like bloated. And then also like whatever types of like anatomy you have, like times of feeling more bloated. I understand the vibe. Yeah. I always had crushes on butch girls. Well, isn't hindsight so funny that we're like, it would have been helpful to like have someone tell me this at the time, but also like, would we have even been like open to that? That's its own thing. I guess our journeys have been what they are. Binding always seemed cruel. I know. When we were talking about ants earlier, I found an ant in my binder. I'm like, this is too far. This is too far and they have to go. Because I'm not into this pervy shit. I didn't consent to that. The journey, I know. And then also being like, well, our journeys are often like dictated by like healthcare available and like what is normalized, like the families that we are born into and like how much access we actually have to community and the ability to develop chosen family and such, that it's hard to unpack of like, well, what would be different, I've always been attracted to lesbians, and I found most straight guys did not agree with my taste in women. Isn't that so funny? I heard that as a comment from someone, like there was a friend who recently came out as lesbian, and this guy was like, she's so pretty, and she chooses like girls that like aren't that pretty. I'm like, just because she doesn't have your taste? Like, you do realize she's not going for what you are. Like, this is like, this is why we have such a hard time having a conversation about this. Of like, I don't even know where to start to like help you unpack that, but like, yeah, the whole point is that she's not going for people that like you would always be like associating with who you view as attractive, like with the male gaze. Gaze, not gaze. Patriarchy ass vibe. Yep, exactly. Oh, this is why, like, it's so. I love being able to talk to you all, like, what it all has been for us figuring out shit, being like, how do we unpack this? And then being like, oh, there are a lot of people that feel this way. Do I have to bring up the peace statute again? Because I will. I mean, this is welcome. Loud kisses. Oh. Alice. Oh, yes. Yeah, this is what we were looking at in the headlines. Yeah, in Nagasaki. Yeah, where you like look at things, you're like, the queer dilemma of being like, do I want to be this person or be with this person? Echoes, yeah, exactly. I know. Also, like the cunty hand gestures. I like. Also, flexibility. This is very Asian. I was talking to my friend recently, how we were like, it's so like everyone in the Western world has like back issues, it seems. And I mean, I can have back issues as well, but I think that's more of like autoimmune shit. But like how like our Asian elders often do not suffer from a lot of like joint pain. It doesn't mean that they don't at all, but like it's just part of culture to be like stretching and like not using chairs as much, like squatting and stuff. Flexibility here. I like half a lotus. Beautiful person. It's like we're going to talk about peace, but also it's going to be nice to look at. I've always said, I like a nice shoulder. Does that mean I'm gay? Who can say? Well, another classic. Yep. Yep. Like, all right. This is what bodies can do, you know? Yeah, especially when it is come to like ideas about women having a certain sort of strength. It's like, how much of this is Western and patriarchal, colonizer in nature? Shoulders are so gay with the brick. Shoulders are very hot. Hello, Yesh. Welcome. First time chatter. Glad to have you. You have a question? Sure. What's your question? We were talking about headlines. What do you think of the situation in Spain? Oh, you know, I do need more information on it. So I'm going to say that like from the beginning. I'm not someone that knows like a lot of the details there, but I think there are a lot of um there is a lot of fear mongering when it comes to immigration, of using situations to heighten distrust of immigrants. But it's really great to see that the government is a little more for Palestinian humanity than most Western nations. So, like, yeah, I don't think that's a very, like, articulate way to answer your question. I don't think I'm someone that necessarily is, like, a voice to be listened to, per se, on all of the specifics. Let me see. There was someone that I was listening to that maybe would have a better perspective. Because I also don't want to speak for people too and what they're experiencing. And believe me, things are very bad in the government. All there is corruption and party members under investigation in Congress. They just insult each other. I mean, that is also what I have heard. There's a chatter that comes in occasionally and talks about how yeah, both parties seem to be co-opted, and sadly this is a pattern that happens in most of our nation states, you know? Yeah, let me see if I can find this creator as well. But I mean, that's a good perspective. Thank you for sharing. Radicalism is resurfacing due to our terrible government, but also like who is being viewed as radical? Is it like radical to be like, oh, people should have human dignity? Because that seems to be very radical these days. But people also being pushed to a lot of fascist thinkers and so-called leaders.
A couple weeks ago, he would.
But yeah, like there are always going to be people who are opportunistic. And so like even with like the PM having more measures that are for Palestinians, that doesn't mean that it also is not like being able to read the room. That delivery.
Couldn't even sit down with the government of Spain, a NATO ally that has troops in Afghanistan with us now. I find that incredible.
Governor, you mentioned Israel and your support for Israel. What has this administration done right or wrong? This is the great lingering.
Yeah, Spain. This what a clown show. What a clown show all of our politics are. Anarchists, phalangists, National Socialists. I mean, it does seem like would you say that you view yourself as being more centrist? Because like I'm someone who has more like anarchist leanings. And it's because of the reasons that you were explaining of like both parties or like the nation states that create these parties that are controlled opposition to one another, that like it means that we can't find morality from them. The Gibraltar migrant crisis thing. Yeah, that's the thing that I was talking about too. It's hard to believe that building a society that prioritizes making the most profit above all else turned out poorly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I can't remember their name. I'm gonna keep looking for this creator and like maybe you can let me know what you think of them as well. We are talking about currently in the headlines, but also within these structures that exist in all of our nation states, that it is difficult to have any sort of a sense of humanity, like human dignity. Can I share a YouTube video so you can see the situation? Sure. But also, like, Juniper just sneezed. I don't know if you could hear that. Bless you. That, like, when people are not able to find dignity or, like, have their basic needs met, that people often are forced to certain measures to resist what is going on, and that there are many people who can co-opt resistance movements, or there are bad faith actors that act in a way that are trying to use it for political momentum. The cat sneeze. Exactly. So cute. But Khadija, this creator, is talking about how people are not having children, and it is largely because it is so difficult to just exist as it is with having all of our needs be met, let alone trying to meet the needs of other like human beings that are helpless, that we are bringing into the world or possibly bringing into the world, that a lot of it falls under this cis hetero patriarchal, ableist, xenophobic, colonized systems that are dictating who deserves human dignity and who doesn't. And that it goes back to capitalism, global capitalism.
sued
Hello,
the
Stuart
residents
Little
have
is my
taken to the
son.
streets following the
Welcome.
announcement of protests called by the neo-Nazi group Núcleo Nacional and by Alvis Perez Eze. At the port, Núcleo Nacional threatened journalists for filming them and marched toward the
Ian
city
Scott
center to
Beard,
hold a
yeah.
rally for a supposed reconquest of the city. However, they never reached their destination, and the Núcleo Nacional protest at Plaza de los Reyes did not take place. Meanwhile, at the Plaza de los Reyes, more and more Susans were gathering. They wanted to take to the streets because they do not want anyone taking advantage of the crisis caused by the arrival of thousands of Moroccans to spread messages that could end up breaking the city's coexistence. A somewhat tense moment occurred when those gathered in the Plaza de los Reyes went to the Grenier Cafe as they knew Alvis Perez was inside. They did.
Yeah, so what you were, I didn't address your question earlier, Yesh, of phalangism, yeah, but being essentially like neo-Nazis, what they're mentioning here. Yeah, as like people's material conditions worsen, it's not surprising, as I don't know why I said it like that. It's not surprising that movements are rising up on the far right, especially, but why people are also being pushed further left is because people feel desperate. And especially when it comes to nationalist, supremacist, ethno-supremacist ideology, thought, and policy, that it is really easy to implement because a lot of the time these systems align more with that than anything that is considered leftist, that is anti-capitalist, anti-colonial.
So to express to him that they do not want any disruption of the peaceful coexistence in Ceuta.
Rangers do not consider themselves fascists. I mean, from what I know about it, and like I wouldn't say I'm an expert, it does seem to be like fairly fascistic in nature. Anything that is nationalist is.
Around 8 o'clock, Alvis left.
It's like, I mean, making the distinction of like, I mean, here we have, speaking of nationalism, of it being taken advantage of, like in India, a sense of nationalism was used to kick out the British, to unite around a common cause against colonizers, but how there are bad actors that were placed by the British, especially people who were sympathetic in the Brahmin caste. That's where like my family comes from as well. In order to have controlled opposition in power, where this nationalism is taken advantage of in order to impose these conditions and right-wing policies. Evangelists are anti-communist tradcasts. Don't know how that could not be fascist. Yeah, that's how I see it as well. Just because it's not like, it doesn't look exactly like Nazi fascism or the fascist party in Italy or Hindutva, like Hindu nationalism, like this Indian nationalism that is ethno-supremacist in India, that is religious supremacist, that it's like any type of supremacy, especially when it comes to nationalism, it's really difficult to separate from like the systems that are that the nationalism is based around, because it's based around a nation state that is built to be functioning in a particular way, and that often it is deeply anti-human. It is not a way to like distribute wealth and to break down class. The main ideologue, Jose Antonio Primo de Rivera, is considered one of the greatest politicians.
The Plaza de los Reyes, escorted
Third
by a handful
position.
of followers.
Does this mean that
He
you
brandished his
consider
Spanish flag,
yourself
thus
a
provoking those
evangelist?
gathered there. His actions required the deployment of dozens of police officers who could
Because I also
have been
see
providing service elsewhere in the city in the midst of the crisis.
I also see a lot of cops that are suppressing people, and that like many people who are nationalist in general join police forces because they agree with the system to begin with, and that there is a lot of fascism that exists there.
Thus, Alvis Perez reached the door of the government delegation, where he remained surrounded at all times by national police officers. At that location, the police created a barrier to protect him while the Susans shouted for the unity of their city. For his part, Alvis Perez and his group waved
I was like, this sounds like AI.
the Spanish flag. They remained there for a few minutes until he was finally loaded into a national police van to be taken away under escort. At that moment, the residents of Ceuta cheered with euphoria and celebrated their departure with loud applause. No one can break the unity of Ceuta at this time.
Falangism cares more about the workers than many current parties. Or are they using workers opportunistically? The truth is that in social matters, they are much more left-wing. I would be hesitant to place much stock in that. And especially when it comes to like people experiencing material harm of like everyday workers, and that nationalist movements, again, like you can have liberatory nationalist movements, but that's not necessarily what is happening here in trying to like oust oppressors, especially when it comes to colonizers, that it is a way to gain power from the working class without distributing any sort of power back to the working class or wealth in a substantial way. Left-wing anti-communism and infantile disorder. Hello, Pigeon Apology. Welcome. Good to see you. We were talking about anti-colonial nationalism in stream today, and was just going to mention that. Yeah, I love that you were talking about that. That's amazing. Yeah, Pigeon called out of work. I'm not exactly pro-communism. I'm wary of it. Stalinists, for example, in Greece, welcome fascists to work with them, and Maoist groups go 400 deep to physically beat and assault anarchist students in their universities. Thank you, Pigeon Apology. How are you doing? Hope you're doing well. What brick? Yeah, exactly. Are they anarchist? The ideologue I mentioned earlier said these words: the right wing aspires to preserve everything, even the bad. The left wing to destroy everything. That seems like... Speaking in absolutist terms like that is a huge red flag, and not like a banner to be rallying under for like collective liberation. That sounds like manipulation. The left wing to destroy everything, even the good. Those are his words. I don't want anyone to think otherwise. If they're tradcath, there's still a slim chance they could be liberation theology, but that's a small step away from fascism. Some of these attributes align with the attributes of classical fascism, which is a widely cited influence of Falangism, even by its founders. Yeah, it's like... even if there is not like outspoken policy of talking about like ethnic cleansing and replacement and talking about like hierarchies, like talking about saying like the right wing is the source of like preserving everything is just a fallacy of like it's a way to make a situation overly simplistic and to reduce the conditions that people are experiencing, not acknowledging the nuance or like the oppression that got there. It is because of a lot of the time, like most of the time, these systems that are existing that uphold what is considered like a right and left party or parties that when we are working within this system that is sanctioned by the state, that the state is approving of, this is where a lot of the time we have limits in what we can do for change to begin with. Yeah, I would say, and like, I don't know if this is even something you are open to, but I would say it is good to have skepticism. Most Spaniards classify Falangism as far right simply because Franco used the party as the sole party in his regime, even though he did not practice national syndicalism. I mean, so would you, it sounds like you're pretty aligned with Falangism from what I'm able to gather. And would you agree that like the quote that you provided minimizes the situation of what people are experiencing materially? That it is rather wanting to blame specific like parties rather than the system as a whole that is collectively oppressing people. Because what people do to get into power most of the time, especially these actors who are operating within the system of the nation state, they are creating an other. And they do it in ways to make it seem like the world is black and white in terms of like what they view as moral and immoral rather than grappling with nuance. I only like the history of Spain being Spanish. I'm not a fascist, okay? Okay. I mean, it's good to be talking about history, but also acknowledging that there are certain kinds of ideologies and thoughts when it comes to policy and implementation that either exacerbate these hierarchies of human dignity or that are actively working to dismantle them so that there is more equality among the masses. And that anyone who is trying to rise to power most of the time is not usually wanting to distribute that power. In the final analysis, where do you stand on empire? My great-grandparents fought for the Republican side in the Civil War. Interesting. Yeah, I'm curious as well as to what your perspective is on empire. While you're answering that, let's continue this video as we are talking about all of these systems, people who are hetero-fatalist, especially when we are considering marginalization that these systems create intentionally, that use these arbitrary attributes in order to create classes of people, because then there are certain people who are more easily exploited and can be used for political capital. Like, nation can be unintentionally problematic, but it starts with empire. Yeah, I think that's a good question, Brick. I'm guessing that's to Yesh and not to me. I think you know where I stand on empire. Okay, I got you.
Men? Yes. Do I like men? No.
They are begrudgingly heterosexual. It fucking sucks. They like men. They like to sleep with men, but they actually can't stand men because
men will literally ruin your life and then ask if you still want to hang out.
So you're like, well, what does a man have to do with it? Lesbians will have kids and whatever. If you were supposed to have a partnership with a man and you're realizing things like reproductive labor, you're realizing things like the second shift, because some of y'all are queer, you don't have to worry about having to have children with men. You could just use them as sperm donors. You could use men that you actually trust and like and all that jazz, and then you don't have to worry about it, and you still get to have a baby. Wonderful for you. For the hetero-fatalist girlies, yeah, girls, we gotta have compassion for them because they don't have choices like that. They like men, and unfortunately, the men are a certain way, and that way is, a lack of emotional intimacy and comprehension, a lack of socio-political and sociocultural awareness and introspection, a lack of consideration, a lack of compassion. And men could argue that women are like this too, but this is why we ain't never gonna get anywhere with these damn gender wars, y'all. If we keep going back and forth like this, I'm just saying. But women do not want to have kids when they don't even want to date men. Where's the possibility of even starting a family when you don't even want to talk to men? The amount of women going celibate these days, more and more women talking about turning to God, girls calling it boy sober, like literally trying to detach themselves completely from men.
You're writing everything with the translator. Yeah, and that's okay. Like, we appreciate the conversation. It's not to, like, make you feel bad either, but I think it's good to be having robust discussion. Especially, it's like, I will be the first to admit, growing up in the US, of like being knowledgeable about international affairs is not something that is a priority. Like, keeping us intentionally ignorant. So, like, if you are comfortable addressing,
because they've had enough of it, and they're not going to go as far as the girls in the 70s and go to political lesbianism. Some of them might, but for the most part, a lot of them are just...
I think there are some people now, especially more than ever, becoming more, as they would say, like, open-minded when it comes to sexuality, especially the femmes, people who are assigned female at birth, people who are conditioned female, that there is more of an inclination. Maybe it's not like a conscious thought to say, like, I'm only going to date women because this is a political stance. But I think sometimes it's out of the situation being so bleak. And if the question sucks, that's fair. I think that's a fair question, Brick. If you live in a country that only exists by the super exploitation of the third world, I don't think your opinions on politics are worth much if you don't engage with how your local politics affect the rest of the world. Yeah, I think that's also a really great take, Zoop. Yeah, of like acknowledging history and how like the world must be decolonized before we can even get to deconstructing some of the hierarchies that exist in societies before they were colonized to begin with. Could you translate this for me?
Gonna take their time and wait and then eventually settle. Sorry, I'm not gonna say that. Sorry, Elowen, you're not gonna eventually settle. You'll hold out. You'll find yourself a good guy. Maybe you already have. You have you? You know what? I hope you have headphones on. Okay, anyway, if y'all remember when I was talking about I need to let Tony in. Hold on. Ugh. Okay. If y'all remember, I was talking about the 4B movement on my channel last year and how these women were doing the 4Bs. In Korean, it's 4Bs, but for us, it's like no sex, no, what is it?
비섹스, 비연애, 비혼, 비출산.
No sex, no dating, no marriage, no children. Because we've had enough of these men's shit. A lot of people like that video. A lot of people were commenting on that video. Lots of girlies found out that their boyfriends might have voted for and were pissed about it. Like, yeah, it seems like the girls are closing ranks. Especially the straight ones. They don't want to deal with men at all, let alone date them, let alone marry them, let alone have children with them. So that also, to me, makes sense why the birth rate is going down. And I don't know.
Especially the straight ones, and the straight ones who are very young too, of growing up with a lot of young boys and men, people who are conditioned as such to be extremely sexist, and to be proud of it, that it's like you come to believe that like that's just how everyone is. We can be as nice as we want, but this person is in favor of third positionism, which is just fascists who are too afraid to call themselves fascists. Yeah, I think there is some truth to that. Yeah, and you know how like sometimes getting difficult questions exposes what people's inclinations are.
Do you know straight people anymore? Where are they? I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But also, like, am I? If you're in Montreal, I'm not kidding. Every American that comes here is like, this city is bisexual. It is. Or I would just say queer. The city is queer. But yeah, less people are straight. So that, I think, reduces your likelihood of having kids. Even though, yes, we know you can be in a queer relationship and have children. We know this. I've said this a couple times. But if you're queer as in not just like your sexual orientation, but the way you view life and your mindset, you might also then, because queer means weird, right? A little different, a little off the beaten path. You might also, or at least how I interpret it, have a queer relationship to the idea of having children. The normal standard by whoever's decree is that you should want children. You should want to have kids. And if you live a queer lifestyle, you're not trying to fit into the norm, or you've tried and it just don't work for you. Okay, the next one, Jesus, is trauma. I just generally call this trauma because, well, a lot of us are really unpacking the way we grew up and how our parents raised us. And though it is not completely on our parents, the things that happen to us, I think, you know, the world is raising you just as well as your parents, the environment, all that, right? It's never just one thing. I'm just going to speak for myself and say I'm unpacking a lot of shit. And I want to deal with that before I have kids. If I have kids, which I don't think I will. I'm more likely to adopt, honestly. Because put my body through, I'm going to talk about it. But the way they talk about how millennials parent, trying this gentle parenting thing, trying to maybe, as some people might view it, overcorrect for how our parents raised us. The way so many of us are in therapy trying to figure out ourselves. Self-help has always been a thing. Human potential movement. You know, people have always tried to better themselves, let's say. I think a lot of us are not only trying to better ourselves, but really unpack. And I don't want to say fix, but maybe fix
trauma.
/ deal with. I mean, how many times has the word generational trauma come up in past?
Flange also said neither right wing for being antisocial, nor left wing for being anti-national in the context of Spain during those bad years. You need to actually analyze how things work. You can't just say catchy phrases and build an ideology off that. Yeah, I think that is very accurate. Fairly counter-revolutionary line. Sorry, I don't think I can go there with you. Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. I don't know Spanish dog whistle. I know that's kind of where I'm at as well. But I know, like, the original introduction of saying, like, phalangism was included with things that are rising up that aren't good. I also, like, want to acknowledge, like, language, like, us not meeting up with, like, shared language, but also that not being an excuse. Sounds more like a human whistle to me. Yeah, I think that's true, of not engaging in the substance of it. That's fair. All right. We're gonna ban this person. And then if just a hot kettle, then. Okay, they're banned. I know that might have taken too long for some. I think sometimes, like, I want to make sure that there isn't miscommunication, but I think that's a fair assessment of the situation. Seems like some mafia shit. They weren't, like, super toxic or anything. Yeah, also understand, like I don't think it's my job to de-radicalize people. I don't want there to be, like, a Trojan horse of people presenting themselves as something and then getting increasingly more fascistic, which is what I think it was. Like, it always gets to me how close to getting the correct answer certain libertarians or nationalists can be. Yeah. Yeah, I think, yeah, of like, are there certain things happening because people are wanting to present themselves as not being as extreme as what they are? But yeah, I think banning was what was needed. Thank you all for your patience with the process.
Generations. Like, I feel like this generation, and I'm talking about millennials specifically, but Gen Z as well could fit into this. Well, I'll say Gen X and millennials. Seems like we're all very kind of like, all right, enough with the shits, okay? We're not doing this anymore. Your parents did the bare minimum. Human beings, in order to be better, we need to actually be nurtured. We are like plants. You can't just dump us in some soil and be like, all right, best of luck. I'm gonna come in and feed you with some water and some whatever every once in a while. For some
I learned
humans,
a little
that might
about
work. Some of
phalangism
y'all
at
are
least.
devils.
I know. I was watching a video on different types of like this is a creator that's like fairly like centrist in many ways, whatever that even means, but like they go various types of communism, various types of fascism, and phalangism was in there, and I hadn't heard of it before that, and so I'm like, okay. But especially with them presenting it as something that they didn't like, I'm like, I can understand of like growing up in a way that was like very conservative, of like people being indoctrinated or propagandized to be like socialism or communism, anarchism, these things are all bad. Yeah, of like, okay. It seems like there wasn't a whole lot of like what you were talking about, Zoop, of like substance to be engaging with. Well, they're explicitly anti-communist, national syndicalist. Yeah. Phalangism is ultra-nationalist, anti-communist, and anti-capitalist, anti-democratic. They really look... Oh no. Yeah. Well, that's an adventure. There's a section on gender roles in the wiki. Oh no, I'm gonna be looking it up. Speaking of gender roles, it's what we've been listening to.
I don't know what it's called, but it's the one that's really hard to kill. Like, it's the first plant I ever got, and like, you really have to try to kill that plant. Some of us are like orchids. You look at us wrong, and it's like, well, that's a wrap. And when your parents haven't been nurtured, it's hard for them to know how to nurture. And so the cycle just continues and continues until somebody goes, all right, enough. The buck stops here. This is why I'm talking about the gender wars all the time too. I'm like, eventually,
yeah, of course, like the nationalism and racialism.
He's gonna have.
Okay, I didn't want to stop on that frame because it was not flattering to Khadija. I think the thing that I was most confused about was like presenting it as something that was extreme to begin with. But isn't that so, like, that is like the cognitive dissonance as well of like people who are right wing, who are like wanting to claim that they're in the middle because there's like a certain understanding that there are ideas that are too extreme. Nation, unity, and empire. .26 program with the phalange. Okay, so that's the person that they were mentioning. Okay, so that was the Trojan horse to be like, oh, this is extreme, but then like people like this shouldn't be silenced. Yikes. Yeah, I think it was a good thing to ban them. They're imperialists. That's all I'm saying with that quote. Yeah. And also, like, the history of Spanish imperialism, of, like, it can't be separated from colonization. Yeah, this is the section that you were talking about, Dina. Conservative ideas about women and support rigid gender roles that stipulated that women's main duties in life to be loving mothers and submissive wives. Oh my god. This is like exactly what we've been like speaking against. In its Sección Femenina, female section, instructed women to be good wives and mothers, teaching domestic economy and cultivating the folk dances of Spain and its corros y danzas. We have the determination to build an empire. We affirm that Spain's historic fulfillment lies in empire. Ugh. Yeah, and the nationalism and racialism. During the Spanish Civil War, the Falange and the Carlists both promoted an incorporation of Portugal into Spain. Yeah, any sort of like absorbing of land that is expansionist is inherently colonial and fascist. The new Falange resulting from their unification in 1937 continued to do so. The Falange also advocated the incorporation of Gibraltar and French Morocco into Spain. Yeah, so that's like what has been happening with current events, both before and after its merger with the Carlists, which also just goes to show that it's like not just, like, as I termed it, a current event, but like what has been in the headlines especially is that it's being used as a way to encourage more nationalist sentiment that is embedded in imperialism. During its early years, the Falange produced, or Falange is probably how it's pronounced, although I don't think we need to give fascists that dignity. Produced maps of Spain that include Portugal as a province of Spain. Yeah. I'm concerned about racial purity. Although that doesn't seem to be like what has been happening in like most recently with immigrants is the thing. Good to know. Yeah, like you said, Dina, I learned a lot more about phalangism today. More than the like very surface level knowledge that I had. Thank you all for your patience and help with sussing this out. I appreciate it. Back to talking about deconstructing these things.
To fold, concede, and just chill the fuck out so we can all get some shit done together. I don't know. We're gonna have to start seeing each other with a bit more compassion, but anyway. But I think a lot of people in and around my age are really sitting with the fact that we didn't get our needs met on an emotional level, on a nurturing level, on a this is how you do life level. It was just very much like, figure it out on your own, know how to take care of yourself, know how to work hard. We're gonna make sure that you're clothed and fed and everything like that, but that's all we can give you, and that's all we got, and we turned out fine. And it's like, actually, I don't think it's it. I don't think it's it. Other bits of trauma of why I personally don't want to have kids. I know that when you give birth, some people say that after you give birth, something happens and you just like forget about all the pain. And I believe y'all. Fully believe you. Fully. If y'all have to sew my coochie up, I'm gonna be real upset. If my titties are always in pain and when I feed you, you are biting on them and my nipples are chafing, and then some 18 years later,
the repetition
you look at me
of Foley.
and say you hate me or some shit. How could I not slap you upside the head? Do you know what I gave up for you? You little shit. And all I get is that face on your... Okay, anyway. But seriously, I'm not saying hitting kids is right. It is not right. It's actually really fucked up because they're the most vulnerable amongst. It's actually really fucked up. But I'm saying the knee-jerk response in me after I sacrificed my body, not only for the months that I was pregnant with you, but then after having you
Wife's
and
belly after birth, the nurse. Yeah.
Okay,
Oh.
let's be serious for a second and talk about the fact that in Canada, pregnant and
As we are returning to this conversation, something else that I think contributed to that I didn't realize was dysphoric. I thought this was just like learning about history, and also that's that's also real. But like growing up, like reading a lot of books, being a nerd, that I was like, it seems like a lot of people die when they are giving birth, and how that still happens. And having like a very big fear of childbirth that I think was much more dysphoric than what I realized at the time. Reproduction always gave me complicated gender feels because as much as I didn't feel like being a man, the idea of having been born a woman was even more terrifying to me. Damn. Yeah. Yep. Exactly. And then when it's like, so these are the options then, of like, especially for gender expansive people, where it's like, oh, when we are working on decolonizing, we realize that, as we were previously talking about empire and colonialism, of how anything that is gender expansive is, or trans, of not having strict binaries, threatens patriarchy and imperialist control. And then when you learn about societies and cultures that actually have more gender expansiveness and transness, that it is just normal and human, and how it's like, oh, there's an erasure that happens, that it is part of these larger ethnic cleansing projects that make it so that we view our options as being limited to.
Indigenous women are 2 times more likely to die than pregnant non-Indigenous women. In the United States, pregnant Black women are 3 times more likely to die, 41 deaths per 100,000 births. And pregnant American Indian and Alaskan Native women are 2 times more likely to die in childbirth, 30 deaths per 100,000 births, compared with pregnant white women, 13 deaths per 100,000 live births. So that's the other serious part of it, is that the maternal mortality rate in Canada and the US for Black and Indigenous women, it's not cute. It's not cute at all. It shouldn't even be that high, but it's not lost on me. And I've talked about this in videos before. Women used to be midwives, still are, doulas, all that stuff, but it used to be more common. And then male doctors came in, and of course, in the States, a lot of Black women were midwives, and they were calling Black women unsanitary.
As soon as I like one kind of person, I can only like that kind of person for the rest of my life for tax purposes. Yeah.
They delivered children, blah, 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 blah.
Ain't like the systemizing of it all.
Because how you gonna walk up to me and
this
go,
dictates if I can buy a house, if I'm more likely to be approved for like a loan.
To have a child, but you know what I'm gonna do?
If I'm gonna be paid more.
You that you don't know how to deliver a child, even if you have had children. What the fuck? Men, you're gonna have to be the ones to y'all have done too much. Y'all have done too fucking okay, I'm part of the problem. But it's not lost on me that countries that have midwives, their maternal mortality rates and infant mortality rates are significantly lower. And I'm not just saying, oh, it's only women that can help women give birth, but I'm saying that unfortunately, a lot of us tend to have more compassion and empathy for people that are similar to us. Lots of doctors will think that women are just like complaining about something, over exaggerating their pain, all this stuff, when in actuality, a lot of times women are underplaying their pain and the symptoms and things like that. Maybe not every single one, obviously. And it's like, if you were a woman doctor, it's not to say that you would automatically completely understand another woman. Again, I'm not saying that, but maybe there's a bit more compassion there. If I see a Black woman doctor, I'm a bit more like, oh, okay, I'm more hopeful, because it's not to say that all doctors can't have empathy. The doctor that I see here is not a Black woman. It's to say that there's maybe a certain level of compassion and care that we have, that we bring in when people look more like us. I don't know why I'm still rambling about this. Anyway, I'm not necessarily an anti-natalist, right? But I don't know. There's something about bringing people into this earth that just don't sit right in my spirit. Because, girl, look at this earth. I don't know if it's fair to bring another human in and be like, well, so how you like it? Like, what? My baby is coming out. Like, what's going on here? And that's because of my own personal relationship with life and mortality and my existential dread and all that jazz. That's a me thing. But I think a lot of people also feel this way. I don't think I'm so unique in this feeling that, like, if I could choose not to be here, I don't know if I would choose to come back. Honestly,
Ugh,
I don't know. I think
that's
maybe
real.
if I could just kind of like
I
not
don't
be
think I
anything,
consented to be
never
born.
get bored, never have feelings, just rest. That might be nice. That might be nice. Ellen, cut it. I'm sorry. Now, something else that I want to unpack with all of
I don't
this
know
is that
why this
people
is so
have a
small on my
certain
screen.
vision
But
of
yes.
the types of people.
Exactly. Fuck them kids. Classic meme. Mm-hmm.
That don't want to have
I
kids.
don't know why it was so
Specifically the types of
tiny in
women that
my
don't wanna have
window.
kids, the
I
spinsters,
probably could have
the
done
witches,
something
the
to
cat
better the
ladies, you know?
situation.
We either can't have kids because no man
I
wants.
swear to you, I'm such a boomer in like relationship to technology a lot of the time. My hot take is that people who are anti-natalists, like politically, arrive there from their inability to deal with how they are not capable of affecting the change they want to see in the world. Yeah, I think that's a really good point. It was a tiny pic. I know. Like, fuck them kids. Yeah, I think it's, I think there's a lot of validity to that, of like, it can be of like, well, there's no hope for us, so we shouldn't try. Obviously, if you don't want to have kids personally, that's fine. But if you're advocating for others to not have kids, you're pointing your efforts in the wrong direction. Yes, I think that's also a really great addendum to what you were saying, of like, it's the imposing on other people, where it's like, then we're taking away other people's consent in a situation which is inherently fascistic and colonizing, of not honoring people's autonomy. But yeah, it's like, I can see of like, we can hold our own personal stance of like, is it moral to have kids when like everything is going on that's going on? But also, like, when there are people who have not deconstructed all of these systems and like their own minds, of decolonizing their minds, then like, how are they even able to like get to a point of even viewing that like in that particular way? And how will you make a better world for kids if you fundamentally don't think they should exist? Yeah, that is true as well. I think that's a good point. I do wish people were more open to adoption and it wasn't a nightmare. Yeah, completely. Where I think that's a really great point as well, Dina, where it's like, there are already kids existing that need homes, and that, like, especially when we are in a situation in the US, but like not just in the US, clearly, of where there are so many forced births happening, where it's like, that is the essence of taking away people's consent and autonomy, and how like these kids are not like like having the choice to be born and then exist in a system that is so incredibly predatory, especially growing up in the foster system is just rife with so much abuse and predation to begin with and so underfunded, and that it is intentionally that way because of people who are part of this movement that are saying like people have to have kids in order to have any sort of worth. So it all goes back to like, what are people able to consent to? And is it a way to say like, this is giving me purpose? And like, that's not fair to put that onto kids. Like, you're my purpose. That's it. Because that is a lot when like as a kid to be feeling that. But also like people should have the choice to be able to have kids. And also, like, it's most helpful to everyone if we are working collectively to make a world that is, like, better for all humans and the planet and children, that it is all working in concert with one another. My first kid's going to be adopted, going to adopt them when I'm financially stable. I love that. Yeah. Of, like, what is making it so, like, we have this system that is incredibly difficult to adopt, is that like the whole point is to try to coerce people into having their biological children, but not just that it has to be within a particular type of relationship, because as we consider IVF and like who, like the availability of it, who is viewed as able to have children, and how like IVF now is like being defunded in so many ways, where it's all about like having a particular type of family within these structures of patriarchy, of cisness, of heterosexuality, of ableness, whatever is even being viewed as able-bodied, that it goes back to eugenics and these colonized perspectives that is just immoral, because it is intentionally manipulating people and viewing other people as worth less. I'm not an expert on adoption, but I would suggest listening to some perspectives of adopted folks, because a lot of them are against the adoption systems we have because they're fundamentally about making money instead of helping kids. Yeah, it's hard because I have a friend who grew up in the foster system, and for a long time was not close to any of the families that he was with, biological family, the families that he stayed with, adopted family as well. And it wasn't until like being reunited with a family that like was slightly better than some of the other ones that he was able to establish more connection there. But even then, like he has said, it's not like a replacement for having chosen family, of feeling like there are people who are wanting you there not because of money, not because of exploitation. But yeah, it's like it's good for us to be having these conversations, because it's like this is what we are existing in, this world that we are existing in, and like how do we make it better if we don't try to understand it more? Some kids give their adoptive guardians the legal parentage forms for the guardian's birthday. Super wholesome when it happens. A substantial amount of kids have living parents that are by all accounts fit to be parents, but they have had their kids removed from them because the state decided they were not fit. Yeah, usually because of race or class. So it's really people with money buying babies from poor people. Yeah, I think that's also true. And then there's that, yeah, of like and disproportionately how this happens, especially as we consider Juniper saying hi. Like how you were mentioning with race and class, of like, this can't be separated from what has happened specifically to indigenous people all over the world, but like speaking specifically of the US, of it being a way to, like, it being state sanctioned to just steal kids from their families and re-educate them in a system that they are viewing as legal and moral, and encourage adoption. It's like, I have seen some situations as well of like kids being pulled out of very abusive situations and put into the system, but also the system itself is incredibly abusive. And that, like, most of the time, kids, when they are able to like be with their families that they are born into, if that is all possible to be done, like, that is preferred. But it all goes back to, like, in public health, there's like this phrase of like upstream tactics. That's like, if people want to have, like, if we can make it so that like kids are getting their needs met to begin with, of like making it so that like people actually have autonomy, and like if they even have the like choice to have kids or not, or if, like, especially when it comes to like forced births and a lot of abuse, of like sexual abuse, and also how, like, if we are able to better the material conditions from people, then, or for people, that like that makes it better, like, and more stable for people, and like to help them have the ability to have kids if they want them, which is the operative term. I bring all these things up because I think that people in this chat would want to deconstruct and learn to be better, not because I think they're secretly evil and want to steal babies or anything. Yeah, and I mean, it's good to be bringing up nuance. That's like what I am glad that people here seem to understand. And what I would hope is, like, with the death of nuance and speaking in absolutist terms, as we previously witnessed, that it's like, to be human is very complex. And then we have all of these elements of systemized oppression and marginalization that we have to deconstruct. May I tell you something I'm torn between? Yeah. Steal babies. I would more likely set fire to a fertility clinic. I am evil. I always try to over-explain my position so people don't misunderstand. No, I think that's probably safe, especially as we're like communicating virtually, of like not being able to like pick up on like body language or tone of voice. I'm on the side of being that old sage, like a backup uncle to literally all children. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and also it's like the whole issue, or like the main issue to begin with, is that people don't have autonomy and also don't have options within capitalism, within colonialism, within these hierarchies of human dignity, and that the issues lie in people not having equality, resources at their disposal, their everyday needs met outside of these systems of oppression. And I'm not good at that sort of nonverbal stuff anyway, so being more explicit works for me. Yeah, I love that. And I think it's very helpful, so thank you. Okay. Maybe we'll finish this video tomorrow. It's so good. But I do need to get to the reading, because I I need to head off in a bit. Let's get into Macbeth. Finish this video from Khadija tomorrow. I think it's a constant issue of like talking about like birth rates and declining birth rates, but especially when it comes to the birth rates of specific people, of declining white birth rates, who is considered white, that it is this moving goalpost that is incredibly political and used to justify political agendas. I'm always happy to expand on anything I've said, so if you're ever unsure, I'd prefer if people ask. Okay, that's a great disclaimer. Thank you. Yeah, I think it's like good to, at least this is my perspective, like, I think it's best to assume that humans are complex, that we are all complex, and that our complexity is bulldozed and eroded within these systems of oppression in order to justify these hierarchies that we are born into that we couldn't possibly have consented to. Like, do we consent to being born? Like, I don't think so. I don't think I consented to being born, let alone being born, you know, like the places that we're born, the kinds of families that we're born into, the ideologies, religions, nation states, time, that it's like once we start to acknowledge how little consent we do have in the world, that is imposed, and it can be incredibly radicalizing to be like, okay, so then how do we actually value consent in our everyday lives? And make it so that we have these moments of like humanizing ourselves and other people that is not just continuing the type of oppression that is possibly internalized. So we're talking about this because I think it's just like ever relevant in headlines. What we're experiencing globally with global capitalism and all of these ethno-states that exist. But also, one of the things that Shakespeare does in Macbeth is that it's made unclear if Macbeth and Lady Macbeth have any living heirs. So especially when we're using that word, it's referring to boys, and how he is viewing his position as being shaky to begin with because he realizes how fragile life is because he's the one who killed the king. Do we agree with him killing the king and then taking power for himself? No, it would have been cooler if he had like done that and then used power to like dissemble it. But like how often that is like not, how that really is not done. And how it just like goes to show like this quest for power and the paranoia that people who will do anything to achieve it and gain it, that they are the ones who are then exacting atrocities in order to maintain their power. But the fact that, like, so the not having heirs, this contributes to his paranoia of feeling like his rule is very fleeting anyway. But it also contributes to this, like, witch-like perspective of Lady Macbeth. How she is saying that like she would kill her own child, like in one of her monologues, or she would like, I would pluck the child from my breast and like dash its brains out if I had the chance that you do. So it's talking about patriarchy, and being like, oh, is this a result of her not having power and being jealous of the men of Macbeth, that they actually have the chance to be in a position of power? Did you study English or something related, or are you just personally a Shakespeare fan? I did study English, but I did do it at BYU, which is a Mormon college. So did I study it? Within like a very conservative lens of like, we read the Communist Manifesto, but that's the only thing that was like leftist that we read. We read very little on like any sort of theory about race, and we read hardly anything about feminism. We read nothing on queer theory, so that like, let alone all of the intersections of these things, or like we didn't read about like disability theory and perspectives as well. So like there's a lot that is missing in my education. And like part of me even wanting to stream to begin with is like engaging in conversation, which I love doing with you all. Thank you for being here. And also to like destigmatize the process of education of like, I can acknowledge that there are these like gaping holes, and not the fun kind, in my education, where I'm like, I know that there's a lot that I don't know. And so like, if we can be learning together, then like, hopefully we can be like asking difficult questions that have nuance. I took a lot of Shakespeare classes. My Shakespeare professor, like the main one that I had, was like one of my favorite ones. And she actually talked about queer theory more than what we did in my theory classes, because Shakespeare is so queer. That can be a plus in some ways, because a lot of universities will present these radical ideas, but in a way that is compatible with keeping the current systems in place. Yeah, that's true. I think that's an interesting perspective too. Yeah, I would often like write papers like from a Marxist lens, but it was like such an oversimplified version of Marxism that came from a very, it came from a perspective that had an agenda to it, to say like, oh, this is bad. Like Marx doesn't like religion, and I was at like a religious educational institution. So like there wasn't a whole lot of like room there. It was just like, oh, he doesn't like religion. But like the fact of like viewing the world in terms of like commodity and calling out capitalism, like that really stuck with me and was a way for me to start like deconstructing a lot of things. It's just funny because like, despite us like not reading like disabled thinkers and theorists, or at least that like they weren't highlighted as such, or like queer theorists or feminist ones, it's like there were already people there. Like many of us were already queer and feminist and disabled, you know? And so it's like not learning about these things didn't stop people from even entering the place with having certain inclinations. So yeah, there's a lot to deconstruct there, but I think it's good to be, because like Shakespeare is so venerated in the Western world, especially the English speaking world. And we talked about this with Othello, a play that we previously read, where often like all of these like interpretations, reinterpretations, like especially when it comes to a character like Othello that is so flattened, he's not dynamic at all. That is a way for like people to provide more depth to the story and character, especially when we have some really amazing Black actors and directors that engage with Othello, that they provide more meaning to it and more depth to it than what is originally written. And so people can often give Shakespeare too much credit in like my perspective, or like he's viewed as like a proto-feminist, which I don't think he was. But it also doesn't mean that like there can't be elements that we can't engage with it critically. And it's also like necessary to have a decolonizing lens with it, as well as a lens with all of these other types of thinkers and like their intersections of marginalization, especially. Also, for the record, my post-secondary was in engineering, but I didn't finish it, so... Oh, interesting. That's cool. I don't think I could do engineering. I'm not built like that. That's as I'm like, how do I find this? Like with technology. I mean, not to say that's like what engineers do, but I feel like that's like not really how my brain works. I'm more like captured by ideas and like art. Like, what makes us human? But yeah, so it's like, for example, the character of Lady Macbeth often is viewed by feminists, or has been viewed by feminists, especially white feminists, or bourgeois white feminism, where like she is a symbol of female resistance. And it's like she does acknowledge that she has ambition and that she wishes she was in the place of her husband, but she also like she also like believes in these strict gender roles and telling Macbeth of like, you're not a man, and like using that as a way to manipulate him to get him to do what she wants. And so it's like perpetuating some harmful stereotypes of women, of saying like, well, if she is childless, which like that's kind of like left up in the air, it's made her be viewed as more dangerous because she isn't viewed as being solely having the worth of reproduction, and that this is very dangerous to a patriarchal system, let alone dangerous and threatening to Macbeth's rule, that people want to claim that he was coerced into by Lady Macbeth, but like he was already thinking about killing the king before he even talked to her. So I could write essays that my teachers found very good in humanities classes, but never thought they were any good, which signals an incompatibility for me. That, oh, I never thought they were any good. Also, you may just be like too hard on yourself. And that's real. Or if you feel like there was like more that could be done, or like being like looked into, that you may have been viewing more depth than what they were even willing to like be discussing. I don't know. It's like, it's hard too, because I'm like, I can be a fan of like be a nerd, and like I like to read people's essays and stuff. But also like you can only do so much when you're doing it for classes, when there are these timelines to be working under, and a lot of the time it like feels coerced, where you're like, oh, we have to talk about this, I guess I'll say this then, as opposed to being like, here's my original thought, I feel like I came to this conclusion because of this. I thought the things they asked of me were silly, and I could bang out an essay in an hour that would please them, which reinforced my belief that it was silly. Yeah. Yeah. That goes to show, like, the limitations of the system, too, and, like, what they're expecting. I've had professors like that, especially if you kind of know what they want to hear, where you're like, oh, I know this professor likes this particular thing, like this, like very Freudian psychoanalysis, so I'm going to write it on this and they're going to love it. And then it's like, okay, then I didn't really learn anything. My favorite professor that I had at BYU, who still was like very conservative in a lot of ways, they tell you what they want, you give that to them. Yeah. Exactly. And then it's to like have an end result that is desirous. And like, as we are seeing, of like when there is substantial resistance when it comes to ideology and like implementation of ideology, of like with world events and like speaking out against genocide, that like there are professors that like can be like, even though their students are practicing the theory, that they're like, no, this is bad, don't do this, or like being part of the problem of like reporting on students. And then you also have like, on the other hand, there are some professors that are like with students in resisting, and then they get fired because of it. So it can be a wide range, but like sadly, when people are like part of an institution, that a lot of the time there is like an agreement with the like how the institution is even propped up to begin with, especially when it comes to academia, when it is so deeply classist, how there can be this like self-congratulatory air about it all, where people are like, oh, well, we got here because of our own merits and because I'm smart, as opposed to thinking about like class and opportunity and like all of these other barriers to entry to be there to begin with. So that's very much a thing. But my favorite professor that I had, my Shakespeare professor, who I also had like a film class of Shakespeare with her, she was one where she would be like, if you want to talk about like the history of like talking about drag and talking about like Shakespeare's like possible like gay relationships, like come see me after class. And so then I'm like, hi, can we talk about this? And that also being part of like the deconstructing of it all. So like, even though like she could be very conservative in certain ways, like she was willing to understand that like there were limitations to what she could even talk about at the school. So like that was very cool. And like one of the things that she did that was like so profound is that like she would make people like write at first, like when we had like our big midterm paper or our big like final paper, she would make people write about like, okay, what are you like caring about right now? And it doesn't have to do with Shakespeare. And it wouldn't be shared with classmates because some things would be deeply personal. She would be like, as part of an assignment, be like, okay, what are some things in your life that you care about, that you're really passionate about? How can that relate to a Shakespeare play? And how can you use that play as finding answers? Whether it is like the Shakespeare play, like disproving something, or it like leading you to something else that's like outside of Shakespeare. Like, I think that was like a really profound thing and like really helpful for me to look at art in that way, of being like, not like art needs to like solve all of our problems, but how like you can have an interpretation that like speaks to your life personally to like get you to care about something, like actually realize why you might latch on to a certain type of narrative or type of art. And then you can also like, and it is like a good to find like other types of thinkers and scholarship to either like view the text in a particular way that is not just like proving your preconceptions of things, but rather to like come to like a larger conclusion. And so like she would grade people very hard to be like, okay, I want your thesis to look like this, and I don't want your conclusion to just look like your introduction. Your conclusion has to be like a larger finding that you come to based off of what you wrote. And so I was like, okay. I got like an A on a paper that I was like, I thought I was very proud of myself. It was like about like comparing Hamlet to this like very like feminist like decolonial book called Mama Day that is based off of Hamlet. I really recommend that. It's by Gloria Naylor. Hello, Nomar. Welcome. Glad to have you. We're talking about Shakespeare. How are you doing? But I think that, but having a professor like that is pretty rare, where they're actively encouraging you to engage in critical thinking and also to relate it to your own life. And so it like really helped me see like the power of good teachers, and like when they care about you and they care about the text and they care about like people like developing their own sense of like consciousness and critical thinking, like how much power there is in that. So yeah, that's that story. Getting those good teachers is key. I know. Teeny, don't drink my water, Stinky. She's been doing this. You little menace. Stinky. Exactly. You're very cute, but I'm going to be reading this. Okay. So, in this scene, well, where we left off, Macbeth became king, and so this is after he killed King Duncan, which is viewed as like one of the biggest sins. But it is appealing to this paranoia of King James the First, King James the Sixth. He's the sixth of Scotland, but the first of England, where he ascended to the throne after Elizabeth I, the ruler before him. That he actively was, I mean, they both were, as rulers, interested in imperialism and colonization, but he was especially interested in colonizing Scotland, in addition to Ireland, but this is where he wrote a book on demonology. He wrote, or had a new version of the Bible be printed that supported his idea of Christianity and his own ideas of power, so that he could other people in be viewing the indigenous people of Scotland, the Highlanders, as less than human. So Shakespeare is appealing to his sense of paranoia, his interest in witches, and also this distrust of women who are gaining too much power. So this is why I don't think we should be giving him too much credit, because it is still appealing to a ruler who is, it's not challenging the ruler's perspective. In fact, it is appealing to his sense of non-consensual domination. Sort of building on some of that. I never engaged a lot with media or media criticism, but getting a bunch of queer people to get together and watch stuff has been great for sparking discussions and thinking critically about what we're ingesting. Yes! Snaps with gloves. You can't hear it, but it's there. I love that. I love that. I have a friend where, I mean, many friends, but like after we watch a movie, we're like, okay, what are our thoughts? We're reconvening. Like, we have to be able to talk about it. But yeah, of like having people's different perspectives of like, it is so cool to be able to view something, especially in a space where like you all are like, you all respect each other. And you can engage in robust discussion of like, you can watch the same thing and gain some like very different things from it, or like someone spots something that you don't, that I'm like, oh, I love this. It's so cool. Like, art is so humanizing to us, like when it's done in a way that is meant to humanize other people, or at least like highlight the human condition in a realistic manner. Okay. This scene is kind of short. The scenes are pretty short in Macbeth, I have to say. The ones in Othello were much longer than this. Largely, it was because we had the shithead Iago just talk nonstop, and that's annoying. So we have Lady Macbeth who enters, and so by this time, she is the queen, Macbeth is the king. So enter Lady Macbeth and a servant. Lady Macbeth. Is Banquo gone from the court? Servant. Aye, madam, but returns again tonight. Lady Macbeth. Say to the king I would attend his leisure for a few words. Servant. Madam, I will. Exit. Lady Macbeth. Naught's had, all spent. Where our desire is got without content, 'tis safer to be that which we destroy than by destruction dwell in doubtful joy. So she's talking about, like, it's better to have had power and then be destroyed than it is to destroy and then gain power, because then you're always paranoid. Enter Macbeth. How now, my lord? Why do you keep alone? Of sorriest fancies your companions making, using those thoughts which should indeed have died with them they think on. So she's like, stop being so paranoid, but that's what she was just talking about. She's like, this is what the king is dealing with. The king, meaning her husband. She's like, it's better your worries would have died with the king. The previous king, King Duncan, that he killed. Whom he killed. Things without all remedy should be great without regard. Nope. Should be without regard. What's done is done. Macbeth. We have scorched the snake, not killed it. She'll close and be herself, whilst our poor Malice remains in danger of her former tooth. Footnote. We remain in danger of her fangs, which are as dangerous as they were before she was slashed. Poor Malice meaning weak enmity. So he was like, we killed the king, but now we have all of these enemies because we have so much power. Like, how about maybe you don't have all this power? Like, that might help you not to be as paranoid. But let the frame of things disjoint. Both the worlds suffer. Meaning, let the universe fall apart, and heaven and earth suffer destruction. Ere we will eat our meal in fear, and sleep in the affliction of these terrible dreams that shake us nightly. So he's also speaking in we, and that is a sign of power, because the royal we means like the king, or like the ruler of the time can only be speaking in this manner. But we need power for the barbarians in our imaginations. I know. Oh, it's so true. Because then it means we can be scared of people rather than, like, engage critically. Like, exactly what he is saying. Like, in the affliction of these terrible dreams. It's like this haunts him. Better be with the dead, whom we to gain our peace have sent to peace, than on the torture of the mind to lie in restless ecstasy. Duncan is in his grave. After life's fitful fever, he sleeps well. Treason has done his worst, nor steel, nor poison, malice domestic, foreign levy, nothing can touch him further. Teeny, hey. I'm gonna put you over here. You're cute, but not that cute. Keeps trying to drink out of my water. You have water bug. He's so mad. He's like, but that's where we are drinking. The royal we, you mean? So essentially Macbeth is like playing the victim because he's like, I'm jealous of Duncan. He gets to have peace. And like, I have to be, like, I have all this power. Now I'm like scared all the time that someone's gonna kill me. And it's like, you didn't have to do that, bitch. Lady Macbeth. Come on, Come on, gentle my lord. Sleek o'er your rugged looks, be bright and jovial among your guests tonight. She's like, he's losing it. Western civilization is a death cult confirmed. Exactly. I don't know if you've seen that FD Signifier video of like the conservative death cult. We watched that on a stream one time, but another example of such. Macbeth. So shall I, love, and so I pray be you. Let your remembrance apply to Banquo. So he's like, don't tell me what to do. I'm the king. Present him eminence, both with eye and tongue, unsafe the while that we must lave our honors in these flattering streams, and make our faces visors to our hearts, disguising what they are. So he feels guilty, which is why he is so paranoid as well. We are unsafe at present, this is a footnote. So we must make our reputations look clean by flattering others. We are unsafe as long as we must flatter. Lady Macbeth. You must leave this. Macbeth. Oh, full of scorpions is my mind, dear wife. Same, because I'm a Scorpio. Okay. But he's saying, like, this is, like, mental anguish, and she's like, stop talking about that. Like, you're reminiscing on it, like, you killed the king, now you have power, you need to be, like, happy and actually be ruling instead of, like, talking this way. And he's also blaming her. He's like, you made me do this. And it's like, okay, you didn't have to kill the king and the guards, which they don't really talk about them because class. Thou knowest that Banquo and his flayance lives. So Banquo, he was with Macbeth when they got the prophecy of the witches that said that he would be king, and also that Banquo's sons would be king. And that has made Macbeth very paranoid of Banquo, that he's going to try to kill Macbeth. Flayance is one of Banquo's sons. Lady Macbeth. But in them nature's copies not in turn. Another footnote. Lease on life. A copyhold lease was subject to cancellation and therefore not etern. The individual human cast from nature's mold. Macbeth. There's comfort yet. They are assailable. Then be thou jocund, which means like joyful. Ere the bat hath flown, his cloistered flight, ere to black Hecate's summons, the shard-born beetle with his drowsy hums hath rung night's yawning peal. There shall be done a deed of dreadful note. So again, we reference to Hecate. We watched a video a bit ago, or like a week ago, on Hecate, the goddess of witchcraft, among many other things. But also speaking about her as Black Hecate. This is racialized language that is embedded in the Bible, and also meant to justify these colonial endeavors. Okay, we have another footnote. Macbeth likens the beetle's humming to a bell, signaling the time for sleep, which also can signal death of a funeral, announcing that someone had died. Because, like as in Hamlet, like to sleep, which means death as well. Lady Macbeth. What's to be done? Macbeth. Be innocent of the knowledge, dearest Chuck. It's like a chick, a term of endearment. Till thou applaud the deed. Come, sealing night, scarf up the tender eye of pitiful day, and with thy bloody and invisible hand cancel and tear to pieces that great bond which keeps me pale. Light thickens, and the crow makes wing to the rooky wood meaning full of rooks. So there's a lot of bird imagery in this, which also like having like proximity to the land and like medicine, of like this being viewed as very witchy of women, especially indigenous women living in these areas. We have another footnote. He's saying, wait, did I already read that? Come sealing night. So that means eye closing, when you are sealing your eyes. Falcon's eyelids were sewn shut, sealed as part of their training. Oh, that's horrible. Didn't know that. Good things of day begin to droop and drowse, whilst night's black agents to their praise do rouse. Thou marvellest at my words, but hold thee still. Things bad begun make strong themselves by ill. So prithee, go with me. So he's continuing to crash out. And Lady Macbeth is like, you need to stop. I don't know how to stop him. He seems like, especially with all this power now, that he can do whatever he wants. He's getting extra paranoid, and that he doesn't trust anyone. I read Macbeth in high school, so I'm generally aware of the plot, but I'm appreciating the explanation of a lot of the language. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot that is, like, difficult to understand. And I think a lot of the time there can be teachers that are like, oh yeah, like, just read this, and then come back to class, and then we'll be like, so what did that mean? It's like, I don't know. I don't know what that meant. Yeah. So, I mean, that's the goal. That's the hope in being able to talk about things in a way that's like a little more accessible, because it's like people don't really talk like this. People didn't even really talk like this in Shakespeare's time, because he's speaking in a way that is like very like flowery And he also would be speaking to the upper classes that would come see his plays in a specific way and language that they would understand. And then he would have people who were not part of like the noble classes in his plays actually speak to the groundlings, people who were in the groundlings. So like everyday people, the common folk, in their language so that the upper class wouldn't understand them. This is where we get like a little more like pushback against the system, against the ruling class, but really not that much. Because like if Shakespeare, in my mind, was doing his job effectively, as an artist, this is my perspective of like what artists should be doing, he would be inspiring the common people enough so that they would feel a need to organize and resist the ruling class, and he would be speaking truth directly to the ruling class in a way that wasn't like appearing like flattery. All right, there is that. The summary is essentially more of Macbeth crashing out, him being paranoid, Lady Macbeth being like, he's losing it and I don't know what to do. But he will continue to blame her. He'll blame the witches. They didn't make him do anything. He already had these inclinations, so, like, actually taking accountability for his actions. Who would think of such a possibility with these people in cis hetero patriarchy, colonization? Anyway, that was an eventful stream. There's a lot going on today. Writing a story where we are meant to consider the inner workings of the minds of people who control all the levers of power is already giving credence to their views. Yep. I love the way you put that too. Of like, we can't be framing narratives off of their terms. Otherwise, we're losing. And it is much more radical to be imagining a world that is completely outside of that framework and structure. Especially as someone who like had a lot of power and influence. Like maybe he didn't have power. He had a lot of influence and like cultural, like especially during his lifetime, this wasn't as much of a thing for artists to be so famous during their lifetime. But like he was able to go between the classes so easily because he was appealing to both of them rather than, you know, mobilizing one or like inspiring people to mobilize and also like condemning the other, where it was enough that they didn't want him in those spaces, where it's like, we're constantly making compromises under capitalism, especially artists, in order to get anything made or to be paid or to live. He wanted to keep making plays, but also, like, what is the cost of appealing to someone who is causing all of this harm? And Shakespeare had a lot more privilege than people of the, like, the common class at the time, the working class at the time, because he was an artist. So he wasn't touched as much by all of the harms that the ruling class was doing. He certainly was not being colonized like the people of Scotland were, or Ireland, or abroad in the global south as well. So, yeah, that's my take. Looking at Shakespeare in a more realistic manner. I mean, the language is very beautiful. I think some of the stories can, like, the ideas about, like, power, where people believe power lies, like, it can be good to analyze, but I think it should be a vehicle for, like my professor, it should be a vehicle for coming to our own conclusions that lead to something much larger, not just stopping at the text itself. All right. This was an adventurous stream. A lot happening. I appreciate you all. Is there someone on right now that we could do a raid to? Oh, thank you. Thank you all for being here, especially as I'm embarking on this and getting my footing. I appreciate your support. Nice to hear me up, and I talk a lot. Like, I guess I might as well put this degree to some use, whatever that means. Yeah, is there someone that we could do a raid to? Like, looking at my notifications. Let us see. Is water on? No. Shovda's on, and she's continuing the subathon. You know, a whole lot of respect to her. Let's go see what she's up to, shall we? Thank you all for being here. It was lovely being with you all. I appreciate the discussion, your thoughts. I hope you have a good rest of your day, evening, wherever you are, and I will see you soon. Okay, bye!